Alright, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC, a quarter-final between the Bulls and Edinburgh. Now, already we have seen one side book themselves a spot in the semi, that being the Glasgow Warriors, after getting the victory over the Stormers. But now, the South African sides, they've got their home field advantage. First game, of course, is Bulls-Edinburgh. Later on, we get to see the Sharks taking on Munster, and in between those two, Leinster have the game up against the Scarlets. But looking through at the starting lineup, the Bulls are looking stacked for this contest, as they would want to be, as Edinburgh, they're a little bit of a dark horse of this competition. They've done pretty nicely in the Champions Cup at times, or in fact it was the Challenge Cup, but they just seem like that type of team that if you don't get it right early, they may make you pay in the long run. But the Bulls, Jan-Hendrik Wessels alongside Johan Hrobela and Wilco Low as the front rowers, Kobus Visa alongside JF van Heeren in the locking duo with Marcel Kutsia, Rua Nokia and Cameron Honeycomb slotting in as the number 8, and Bros Papia alongside Keegan Johannes in the 19 combo. Harold Foster and David Creel make up the centre pairing with Seb de Klerk, Kanan Moody and Willie LaRue, the experienced veteran, at number 15. Looking through at the Edinburgh side, the challengers heading to South Africa for this contest, Pierre Gorman, Ewan Ashman and Darcy Ray as the front row, Sykes and Skinner in the locking duo with Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson and Bradbury slotting in as the number 8. Ali Price and Ross Thompson, I should say, will be the 19 combo. James Lang and Matthew Curry in the midfield, and then Patterson, Graham and Hurson as the back three. In the chat, we have got there, go Edinburgh, you can do it, says Connor. Now, they do come in as about $7 underdogs in this matchup, but like I said, they are a more than capable side. These two teams having a match not too long ago, and in that one, the Bulls were just narrowly able to beat Edinburgh in their home ground. The bookies make the Bulls massive favourites. Is this one-sided or potentially close? I think that depending on what Bulls side shows up, it could be one-sided, but at the same time, I think that if Edinburgh are competitive and they're physical, this one could actually go down to the wire and maybe could even be the closest game of the whole weekend. Bulls all the way, says Ben. And Bulls to take this one. Stormers let me down last night, says JP. And so do the Blues stay? They certainly do. The Blues will be playing the Chiefs in the Super Rugby playoffs. In that game between the Reds and Fiji, or Fiji and Drua, I should say, the Reds dominated. In that matchup, what happened between Moana and the Canes fell asleep. Moana lost by about 50 points. In fact, it may have even been closer to that 60 mark. So they do not go through. Instead, it will be Canes taking on the Brumbies in Australia for one of the playoff games. And alongside that, the other game that we haven't mentioned as of yet is Crusaders versus Reds, after the Reds getting themselves a big win over the Draw, or at least they are in the process of it. They are sitting 45 points to 7 up with only 4 minutes remaining. Leinster winning the whole thing easy, says David Rothman. I like the confidence. It's what we heard last year as well, though, and unfortunately for Leinster, not just in the Champions Cup, but in the URC last year, they did come up short. This year, though, we've heard it, and it sounds like Leinster, they feel like this is the time for them to finally strike and get that URC title. And at the end of the day, like, they stay at the top of the table each and every year. They get the best qualifying, number 1 spot once again. They just haven't been able to get the job done in terms of those really important playoff games. They're up against the Scarlets, who are huge underdogs. That game taking place in only a few hours' time. We will be covering it on the channel too. They have to make sure they strike, and they have to make sure that they're keeping that home final going right up till the Aviva. But these are the way that the semi-finals will look. It will be Leinster or Scarlets taking on Glasgow because of their victory yesterday over the Stormers. On this side of the draw, Bulls or Edinburgh will face the winner of Sharks versus Munster. So there is a pretty high chance in terms of who the favourites are that we could see a South Africa versus South Africa semi that would then lead to one of those two sides. If it was the Bulls, they would have the home final if they were playing Glasgow. But Leinster, of course, if they win their semi, they have got the home final. No matter what, no matter who they are playing, they will be playing at home. But we've seen the one quarter final that has taken place so far. That was the contest between Glasgow and the Stormers. 36 points to 18 in favour of the Glasgow Warriors. As you can see there, the Bulls and Edinburgh, the odds are very much so in the Bulls' favour. Leinster, you can't even back them anymore. That's how much money's been thrown on those boys. And then the Sharks come in as the favourites up against Munster. Actually the same odds in terms of the favourite to underdog ratio as we saw for Glasgow versus the Stormers. So all of the home sides have had massive advantages when it comes to the odds, and they do normally get that big advantage having the crowd firmly behind them too. Recent games, these are the matches that have taken place in May for these sides. For the Bulls, they played up against Cardiff, winning at 45 points to 21. Their next game up against the Dragons, 55 points to 15. So over their last two contests, they have scored 100 points. So that is pretty impressive. Edinburgh, they have been struggling a little bit at times in terms of that game up against Bath, but from there, just seemed like they found another gear. That match up against Ulster was an incredible one for Edinburgh. They needed a big win to book themselves a spot in the URC quarterfinals, and that's exactly what they were able to do. We have got in the chat, Bath OMG says Katzenell and go the Bulls, you can do it. Says Jason, if Munster win today, will they be at home in the next round, says Connor. So Munster, in terms of the overall rankings, I believe came in as 6th. Yes, they did. So in terms of a home semi-final, the only way that they can get a home semi is if Edinburgh and the Scarlets both win. Otherwise, Munster will be on the road, and they will either be heading to Ireland, which of course is pretty close to home, or they will be heading more than likely to South Africa, or at least staying in South Africa for another match up against an SA side. But there is a slight thin chance that Munster can get a home game. But like I said, a lot of underdogs have to win for that to be the case. Who's your anytime try scorer here? Hamish, honestly, looking through at this Bulls side, someone like a Cameron Honeycomb at times has been quiet, but I do think in these big type of matches, that's when we really see him stepping up. Kane Moody, he can be a real superstar out on the wing, but I think if I had to pick anyone to score in this game, it would be Sebastian de Klerk. He's got pure pace, manages to find space in the wide channels, and just seems to know how to get that ball over the line. Definitely a chance of making the Springboks as well, depending on what Rassie's looking for. But Seb de Klerk, definitely one to keep an eye on throughout this match. Who do you think is winning the Super Rugby Pacific, says David? I think that either Chiefs or Crusaders, but then saying that, the Blues and the Canes seem like they're peaking at the right time, so it really could be anyone's win when we get closer to those playoff games. I'm excited to see the ones next week and work out who's getting knocked out and who we have in the semi-finals, but it's just very hard to predict, which is exactly what you want. At the end of the day, we don't want a comp that is extremely one-sided. We want everyone to have a good crack, and I think that all top 6 teams can actually go on to win it from here. What happens if the Sharks win tonight? Who do they play? They will be playing the winner of the Bulls versus Edinburgh match. So this one right here, the winner of this game faces the winner of Sharks versus Munster. Let's go the Bulls, says Paul. How many internationals are in the game today, says Katzenell. So in terms of this Edinburgh lineup, there's quite a few Scottish internationals, of course, for the Bulls. Quite a few South Africans in there. The likes of Cameron Honeycomb, Ruan Nokia, who became a bit of a standout when there was a lack of locks available, whereas in this game, he actually finds himself in the loose forward trio. Jan Hendrik Wessels, Johan Grobela, and Wilco Lowe all have Springbok experience in that backline. Villy LaRue, of course, that man getting closer and closer to his 100 caps. Kane Moody out on the wing. And, David Creel, a guy who's been pretty unlucky that the Springboks have been so stacked in the midfield combo, because if it wasn't for that, I think he could have found himself in the box. Looking through at this lineup for Edinburgh, of course, the Scottish internationals and Darcy Graham. We do see there Ali Price, Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson, Sam Skinner, Ewan Ashman, Darcy Ray, Pierre Scorman. So an all front row international side for Edinburgh and an all front row international team in regards to the Bulls. So both of these sides should have relatively strong scrums, although recently we've seen quite a bit of dominance from the South African packs. We saw it in the game between Stormers and Glasgow. Even in the losing effort from the Stormers, they looked far better when it came to that set piece in the scrums. And I have a feeling that it could be a little bit the same here for the Bulls. They'll try and play at a tempo that wears down this big forward back. When do Pollard play? Next season. So when we see Andre Pollard in, I know we are going to win. A Bulls going straight through, says Jason. And give it horn, says Outlaw. And let's go Bulls, says Ben. And if the Bulls win and the Sharks win, the Sharks will be travelling to Pretoria to play the Bulls. That is correct, yes. So the Bulls, if they are victorious, they will have the home semi-final. But if they do lose to Munster, then more than likely Munster will be staying in South Africa to face off up against the Sharks. Up against, I've confused myself now, but Pretty much Munster, if they do manage to beat the Sharks, they'll probably still be playing in South Africa next week. Whereas if we see Edinburgh win this contest because of where they are ranked, they will probably be in South Africa next week as well. So it's not getting any easier for the underdogs in these contests, which is why they are considered underdogs. Reds 52, draw 7. So yeah, pretty dominant game for the Reds, which was to be expected. They were definitely chasing that points differential had the Canes not got themselves a bonus point as well. But quite a few one-sided affairs for Super Rugby Pacific throughout this round. How's your feeling about the Bulls and LaRue today? I think that heading into this game, it's a bit of a weird one. And the reason I say that is because last 2 games for the Bulls, 45 points up against Cardiff, 55 points up against the Dragons, 100 points across their last 2 games. That to me would say that a team is in great form and that they've got a very good chance of going on to win this game. But the only reason that I'm a little bit hesitant is because we saw Glasgow Warriors in their contest up against the Stormers. Their last 2 games, they had scored 2 tries in total and 12 points. And they managed to get 38 up against the Stormers. So, of course, it's not just about how you start in the season. It's not about how you finish in the regular group stages, but it's what you can do in playoff rugby when the pressure is on. And we've seen the Bulls before. They have been able to handle that pressure, made it all the way to the final, and they love to get that redemption over the Glasgow Warriors who did beat them in last year's competition. But there's a lot on the line. Pressure can sometimes make a diamond, but sometimes it can just lead to capitulation, and that is the last thing that the 2 sides here do want to experience. Hamish, let's go Bulls for the final, and Ben Healy is on the bench for Edinburgh. Says Connor, and hi on Hamish, says Robert V. Welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well. I appreciate your breakdown, Hamish. You're pretty awesome. Says Roof, do appreciate you being here, Roof. Of course, 3 back-to-back games of the URC quarterfinals that we are going to be covering on the channel. This one, then there is Leinster versus Scarlets, and then back into a South African versus the Irish side in Munster. Sharks versus Edinburgh for that match. These are the players off the bench. It is Akafana Murva, Martin Zima, and Mornay Smith as the front row replacements for the Bulls. Kirsten alongside Mako van Staden. And the other 4 replacements, Zach Berger, Stedman Hans, and Devin Williams. So actually the 5-3 split for the Bulls, which is a little bit surprising, I will say. Normally we do see them stack that bench a little bit more with some big, powerful forwards, but I think perhaps in this case, they're playing it a little bit more safe. The last thing that you want is an early back injury, not literally like to your back. I mean, it could be though. Might see a guy stretch it off. That's happened a bit too often in recent times, but yeah, if one of your backs go down with an injury, you do need that replacement. We saw it for the Stormers, how they only had Marnie Libok off the bench, and due to the early injury of Dan Duplessis, it meant that they did have to make some pretty drastic switches and just never quite seemed to find their rhythm once it did take place. But in the chat, we have got their discipline will win this game. Exactly right. We saw Glasgow give away 16 penalties in their contest. Now, up against the side that would have been a bit more clinical than the Stormers, I feel like with that many penalties, Glasgow easily could have lost that game. But with the fact that the Stormers dropped that ball so much, I think that that was the one thing that allowed Glasgow to be able to drop that ball so much and not get fully punished for it. Did Bulls win against Edinburgh? Says Mohadin. I think you are talking about the last time that these 2 sides played. So in this regular season, in terms of the head-to-head, I know that they also played each other, I believe, in the Challenge Cup, if I'm not wrong. But in terms of this Bulls side, in fact, I'll get it up on my phone. It will be a lot easier to be able to find all of their matches and see exactly what date it was that they did last play. There's just a big match feel about this one, and I feel like the Bulls being at home, of course, massive advantage. The last time that they played in the European Challenge Cup quarterfinals, Edinburgh were at home and they managed to win it 34 points to 28. And then in terms of the regular season for these 2 sides, I believe it was way back last year that they actually went head-to-head. And yeah, September. It was Bulls versus Edinburgh, actually the opening contest of the URC for these 2 sides. So a little bit of a full circle moment for them to be playing again. In that game, it was 22 points to 16 in favour of the Bulls. So the Bulls have won at home up against Edinburgh by 6. When Edinburgh were at home up against the Bulls, they were able to win by 6. So by that logic, that means the Bulls should be theoretically if that trend continues, they should be able to win this game by 6 and move on through to the semi-finals. But we are soon to see what the weather is doing. The coverage picks up for us here in New Zealand in only about 2 minutes' time. And Storm is most focused on the Curry Cup now, or must focus, says Outlaw. And old mate Billy LaRue, work your magic, brother, says Johnny Blaze. And Stormers had more drops and knock-ons than a baseball game. Yeah, unfortunately, their handling was all over the place in that fixture, which was a massive shame because they are a side that, when they're playing good rugby, it's phenomenal to watch. Sasha's one of those guys who can control a backline and really create massive chances. Sadly, didn't get to see it, though, in that last one, just due to the amount of errors that the Stormers had. Plus that no having Damien Valimza, I think that really did hurt them. Stormers play in September. There's Mohadin, and that was, of course, a part of the next year of URC. The fixtures have all been confirmed, and looking once again like some pretty good ones in the mix. But as we get closer to this game, we will once again show you guys the starting lineups in terms of who to look forward to watching while they are out on the field. For the Bulls, they have got Jan Hendrik Vessels, Johan Robela and Wilco Lowe, an all Springbok front row for this contest. Kobus Vesa alongside JF van Heeren in the locking duo with Marcel Coetzee. He's one of those guys that you cannot underappreciate in terms of what he can do for the Bulls. He's physical in the breakdowns. He loves the turnover, and I'm expecting 1 or 2 from him in this game, even with Richie Watson and Bradbury across from him. I think Marcel Coetzee are very good at picking his moment to be able to get involved. Ruan Nokia to play a little bit of lock for the Box, but he finds himself in the loose forward trio once again for this URC quarterfinal with Cameron Honeycomb alongside him in that number 8 jersey. For the backline, and Bros Papia alongside Keegan Johannes as the 9-10 combo. Harold Foster and David Krill in the midfield. Sebastian de Klerk, Kanan Moody and Villy LaRue as the back 3. Those 3 are electric when they are on form. LaRue, he gets a lot of criticism, but when that man's vision is on point and he is kicking perfectly, he makes it very hard for any opposition to win the territory battle. But this Edinburgh side, they are also pretty stacked for this contest. We have just seen the coverage here. Beautiful day in South Africa at Loftus, and this is going to be, I would think, a fast-paced style of rugby. There is no rain in the forecast, 20 degrees Celsius, clear skies, and hopefully plenty of tries. But Pierre Schurman, Ewan Ashman and Darcy Ray as the front row. Sykes and Skinner in the locking duo with Richie, Watson and Bradbury in the loose forward trio. Like I said, those 3 could really have an impact here if they are on point. Ali Price and Ross Thompson, they are going to be the 2 in the 9-10 channel for this contest. And then also in the midfield, Lang Curry, Patterson Graham and Husson at number 15. Now, keep a close eye on Darcy Graham here, because he is a guy who I feel was in good enough form to make the Lions, but he wasn't selected. And since that, he came out last week. I believe he got himself a hat-trick. He also got a yellow card, but the hat-trick's probably the more notable of the 2. And he's the type of player to use that as fuel in this contest and show exactly why he should have been selected in that British and Irish Lions side. But looking through at the chat, that's ugly for the draw. Yeah, it was always, well, I want to say, I wanted to see it closer, but there was just a chance that the draw had dropped their heads after being knocked out of the comp, and that they were always going to be fully up against it. We have got the other matches coming up in a few minutes. That is true. And we have got there up to Canes, says Zach Kemp. And there as well, we have got there, yeah, he is the best, says Penelope. And also the make the OG Jake White proud fellas, cook 'em on the Bry boys. And also we have got there still going strong, Hammy. I'm still tucked up with COVID, thank God for rugby, says Yvonne. And yeah, there are plenty of games taking place all throughout this weekend, so I'm sure you will be enjoying all of the coverage around the world. But now this contest, the 2 sides making their way out of the tunnel. We are just about into this contest. Do let me know, of course, your score predictions in the comments with who you think will be able to get themselves the victory. Certainly a lot on the line for these 2 sides. We have got there, did anyone else see Tim from Egg Chase has got the rights to stream Pro D2 in the UK? Maybe we should do that for New Zealand. He has the comps chops, says Yvonne. The only problem with that in New Zealand is TVNZ have the URC and Sky Sport have the restricted rights for Super Rugby. So it's unfortunately just not possible here in New Zealand without getting sued. And I don't like getting sued. It's a bit of a brutal experience I will say, and Creel Honeycomb, let's go, who's getting the first try. I think those two are a decent shout. I'm also throwing Sebastian de Klerk's name in there, though. And we have got there, that was an awesome game by the Hurricanes, as there are many people. Hamish, it looks like a decent crowd at Loftus for this contest. A lot of people on the near side of the field, as it is in the shade, in the hot conditions, and Bulls are going to lose, says Christian. So what tells you that the Bulls are losing this game, Christian? Is it the lineup that you've seen from Edinburgh, or just because you don't want to see them victorious? But, yeah, good crowd at Loftus by the looks of a lot of flags for the Bulls on the near side. And de Klerk says roof. And also Christopher Lowe says roof there as well. It's second tier French rugby. Neither of those channels own it. Tim bought the rights. It's totally legit. Says Yvonne. Yeah, it's all right over there. I don't know whether or not they would give the rights to a New Zealand outfit, because like New Zealand lost the top 14 rights, and I'm not sure what it was that caused them to lose them, because Sky wasn't actually able to get it. But now, going to be a chance here for the Bulls. They're going to be kicking this one off with Keegan Johannes having the ball in hand, ready to go for yet again another quarter final. This is the second one that we are covering for the URC. Bulls 40, Edinburgh 25, says Tiger XI. And when is the game starting? Has it already? It is just about to. The kickoff is on the verge of happening. Okay, crowd not as full on the far side as I did expect, but still looks like a decent enough crowd for a quarter final. And of course, as we get closer to the final matchups, we will get to see the crowd also fully grow. Right. We seem to have a little bit of a delay here at the moment. Adam Jones will be the referee in charge. Leo Colgan will be the TMO in charge. And we're just waiting for, I think, someone to get into position, maybe a touch judge. And then we'll be underway for this URC quarter final. But Keegan Johannes, the nerves are going to be going well and truly for that man. He's sitting there with the ball in hand, waiting to be able to kick this one off. And now the whistle has blown, and we are underway for the quarter final. And a very nice take from Bradbury, who's had a few standout games as of late for Edinburgh. This looks more like a soccer pitch than a rugby field. Says Cats. And now they played a lot of rugby at Loftus, though, is known for its rugby in the past. I think they might play the occasional football game here as well, though. But nice clearance from Ali Price. And sorry, Moana. Says Bads Ablaze in Edinburgh 25, Bulls 20. Says Connor. Now ready to throw this one in, Johan Robela, and that one's going to be dropped off. Now going back across to the right-hand side. Chance here for Sebastian de Klerk. Let's go, Bulls, says Ruth. Now, chance here for Mbros Papi. Just having to wait for one of the players for Edinburgh to roll away. I believe it was Hamish Watson. Did you see the Reds versus Drua game? I saw the score. Didn't actually watch too much of it, though. After the first about 20 minutes, I could see where that game was going, and it wasn't in favour of the Drua. Now the Bulls still in position, 35 metres out from the line. Edinburgh's defence has come a long way in just recent times. In fact, they're probably peaking at the right time in this competition, but the same can be said about this Bulls side. Like I mentioned, 100 points across their last two games, and that one's kicked a bit too deep from Ambros Papier. And they will go back for the scrum for Edinburgh, about 45 metres out from their try line. But career appearances, he's up to 77, working his way towards the century. And the Bulls come score. And question, when's the last game for Geordie before he comes home? That depends on how far Leinster go in the competition. Theoretically, it could be as late as around the 15th of June. If they're knocked out earlier than that, then he could be back a lot sooner. They already have the vote for Vodacom Man of the Match. I think it's a little bit early for that, but at the moment, based off what we've seen, he probably wouldn't go with Papier just as of yet, but he might have some good moments as this match does progress. But this is a very important little moment in the game. The scrum talked about the fact that both front rows are full of international players. Who's going to be able to assert that early dominance? And it could be the difference maker. We have seen the Bulls before, when they've been struggling, rely on that scrum and win themselves games. Total blowout the last couple of weeks for all the top teams, says Kano. Pack weights, that is a massive difference. 57 kg advantage to the Bulls. So Edinburgh, the lighter pack, but maybe the little bit more elusive in that regard. But elusiveness doesn't get you very far in a scrum. And pure power coming back at them, but they've managed to retain their first. Now Edinburgh shifting away to the right-hand side. Skip pass out to Darcy Graham. He's taking a shot to the head there from Sebastian de Klerk. He stayed down to Darcy Graham, had his fair share of concussion issues just in recent times. That one might be one that the TMO has a quick look at. I dropped my takeaway. Says Katzenell, the Hurricanes were in brutal form. And Port Pacifica got battered. Yeah, unfortunately, they'll come up against two great sides. Now, that's pretty brutal. Sebastian de Klerk running right next to Darcy Graham, who he did flatten. And Graham's still down, ladies and gents. This does not look good. But there's going to be the advantage now. Edinburgh looking for the sideline. And, in fact, going in behind this Bulls defence. Villy LaRue just scanning the situation. Decides to run it. He's realised that Edinburgh have the man down. Oh, he's almost hit him with the ball. It must have been very close to hitting Darcy Graham, who is still down on his knee after the big shot coming in from de Klerk. Looked a little high, if we're being honest. Win or lose next week, the Chiefs go to the semis, says Kano. That is true. So they have already booked themselves that spot. Right. Is this one being checked? It does sound like they are now checking it. They are having a look at it. They took a little while, but I guess they had to make sure that there was nothing that came of significance in the build-up. But just first reaction was Graham went for the chip and Sebastian de Klerk hit him at least on the chin or the upper shoulder. And this could be danger. I mean, we already saw yellow card for St. Natler in the last one. See, that one's, it looks pretty bad, right? But I do think that Sebastian de Klerk here has slightly tried to pull out. But it's unfortunate for him, the fact that Darcy Graham's gone the same way. Like, Sebastian de Klerk's not even looking at Graham, but his shoulder's connected firmly with the head of Graham there on the chin. So it's a really unfortunate collision that I think, like, de Klerk's jumped into it a little bit, which is unfortunate for him as well, because it has made it look a little bit worse. But Graham probably won't be continuing in this game. One of the most dangerous players for Edinburgh might be gone after 2 minutes from a head knock. I think the Bulls will take this one. Stormers disappoint me last night, says Paul. Oh, they shot in real time. It's quick. It happens so fast that I don't think de Klerk had time to pull out, but it is a shoulder to the head. So it's at least going to be a penalty where the ball lands by the sounds of it, but is it also a yellow card? Referee has got his card kit out, and it is a yellow to Sebastian de Klerk. And cards can be a problem for the Bulls. They have to be careful, says Christopher de Vet. Which team is going down a player? It will be the Bulls, the home side, who are now down a man. He looks disappointed, Sebastian de Klerk, and I can understand a little bit of why, because I do think he's slightly, you know, he went half by for the charge down, then went, okay, I'm not quite getting there, I'll jump off to the side. Unfortunately, Darcy Graham also went the same way, but it was the way that Sebastian de Klerk turned that kind of got him set up for a little bit of danger, and it's the yellow card. And great hit game plan working so far, says Martin. I mean, if the game plan was to take out Darcy Graham, it certainly worked, although I think he's going to be continuing in this game, Graham, even though he did look like he was very slow getting back up to his feet. Now, line-out throw here for Ewan Ashman. It will be on the 22-metre line, nicely claimed at the front for Jamie Ritchie, now popping the ball off to the left-hand side. Ashman finds Bradbury. And no off-field review for a red card, not in this one. It's just pretty much decision is made, and that's what they end up going with. Now, short ball. Oh, that was almost through for Curry from Dash. Now, Thompson going back to the left-hand side here for Edinburgh. Ali Price back across to the right-hand side again, popping the ball up. Thompson gets it to Bradbury. Missed tackle coming from Keegan Johannes. Ali Price almost could have ended up with a penalty advantage there. A little flick pass off to Curry. They are 15 metres out from the line. The Bulls still looking for their turnover in the breakdown. Come on, boys, don't let yellow card bring you down, says Jason. I mean, we saw the yellow for the Stormers in their game up against Glasgow. They conceded twice. Hamish Watson, ball on the outside, and Wes Hewson for the corner does score the try. And that is the damage that a yellow card can do. The early points on the board for Edinburgh, away from home as well. The Northern teams are scared of 20-minute red. I think it's more so that they don't want a player who's done something cynical to get away with it by being able to come back out into the game after, or sorry, not come back out, but then side not be disadvantaged for so long. I think was the reasoning behind it. That was the main reason for the French teams anyway. But Wes Hewson out wide used to be at the Hurricanes, and just like the Canes earlier on up against Moana Pacifica, running in the try. Had to try and avoid the big shot coming across from David Creel. And come on, Edinburgh, says Connor there, and de Klerk yellow, says Ruth. And let's go, Edinburgh. And like the commentators just said, stunned silence around Loftus. Maybe a little bit of nervousness here. Now, no matter what the score is in this game, the Bulls will still be well and truly in this contest. They are that type of side that will dig deep when they need to. But I also mentioned about it before the game, scoring 100 points from their last 2 contests. That can sometimes give you that false sense of confidence. But I do think they'll still get quite a few tries throughout this one. Recap Bulls fix the mistakes, says Ben, and South African Rugby struggling in these quarters, says Kano. And yeah, the difference between the Bulls and the Stormers is the Stormers came in as underdogs. The Bulls are heavy favourites that are not supposed to lose to Edinburgh. And we mentioned about the previous results this year. Edinburgh, when they played the Bulls at home, they won by 6. When the Bulls played Edinburgh at Loftus, the Bulls won by 6. So very little splitting these two sides, and it could be yellow cards, or it could be these little mistakes, an interception later in the contest that could actually determine who the victor is. Ali Price going for the box kickoff, his left boot, does manage to find touch around the halfway line. Still early, don't worry, Bulls. Yeah, it's just pretty much survive that 6.5 minutes with the yellow card remaining, get Sebastian de Klerk back out there, and then from there just rebuild. Maybe even try and get a couple points during this period, whether that's a penalty or a sneaky try. Just keep yourself in the running and then allow the Loftus altitude and the pressure to build in the second half. Johan Robillard getting his line-out throw straight on the halfway line now. Johan Goosen not playing in this game. Instead, they have got Ambros Papier, but of course Pollard around the corner. They're going to have some great options in that 10 channel. That's gone down in the maul. Ambros Papier going back across infield, finding Harold Foster. The Bulls hit back, says Ben. I was getting nervous. Reds moved close to 50 because I had it for under 60. Up from the 60th minute to 72 minutes with stoppages was like few. Says Mr. All-In. Is it 1 versus 8 in this comp? It is indeed. So pretty much we can show you exactly how it works out in terms of this is the table. So Leinster playing the Scarlets. That is the next game. That's a good mark called by Wes Hoosen, who decides to take it quickly. Oh, a little bit of a collision between Bulls players, but Kanan Moody tries to pop it on the inside to Cobus Vesa, who had a little bit of an after there with Pierre Schoolman. But I think that's a bit of frustration from the Bulls, as if he didn't drop that ball, they were probably going to be through. But now Edinburgh, they have the opportunity to do just that, trying to cut back inwards. Was Patterson, who has lost his footing and has given away the penalty as well. Right, Villy LaRue yelling at his teammates, trying to get them composed. As you can see, Edinburgh taking on the second-ranked Bulls. So for them to be able to get a victory here, if they could somehow pull it off, would be a massive one for them. Hi, Hampshire, everyone took Edinburgh. But only because I love Jake White when he's angry. Yeah, Gunners, how Bulls making simple mistakes, though, says Isaac. And I mean, we've already seen a couple handling errors there. Great kick, though, downfield from inside of the 22. I think it was just the decision-making from Edinburgh on those last couple passes that had cost them the opportunity. But yeah, nice play from Henry Patterson to loop around. Or sorry, Harry Patterson, I should say. And then Harold Foster just getting on to the ball, making sure he was not going to be letting that one go. Johan Robillard just about ready to throw this line out in. 9 minutes gone in this quarterfinal. 4 minutes remaining of the yellow card of Sebastian de Klerk. Nicely taken by Rohan Noki, and the penalty does go the way of the Bulls for playing the man in the air. I forgot Leinster was in the comp. A league above the rest from what I've seen and heard, says Kano. So the game is going to be starting in around 2 hours, 15 minutes time. And that will be the contest up against the Scarlets. We are covering that one on the channel too. We have got there, this is the shortest URC season ever. Last season was very, very long, says Katzenell. Was it? I thought it started and finished at about the same time as this season has. And Bulls fix, says Ben. That ball just popping out the back door. It looks like Jamie Ritchie not too happy about it. We'll look at the URC 2024 season in terms of when it started and when it ended. So the final took place on the 23rd of June for the 2024 season. And I think we'll find it started at around that same date in around early October. Yeah, 22nd of October is when the last one started and finished on June. And this competition taking place at the moment. The Bulls are opting for the 3 as well, I should mention. This final will be taking place on the 15th of June-ish. I meant the one before, says Kitsenel, but that one has gone over from the Bulls. And it is going to make the score now 3 points to 7. They're just saying there that soft penalty coming from Jamie Ritchie, unfortunately, just ended up costing them a little bit there. But now, Ross Thompson going to be kicking this one off. What do you lads think of the Club World Cup for the rugby and stuff, or nah? I don't mind it. I just hope that it gets the right build and also, you know, it has a decent following for it, because it is one of those ones that some people, of course, would love to see the Club World Cup, but then there are others who say, nah, we'd rather see our clubs play each other and then have internationals. So I hope that it is a success. That's going to be cross-kicked from Villy LaRue, but it has gone out on the full. I think he's pointing at one of his teammates, trying to say that it was his fault that he kicked it too hard. I think this Club World Cup is stupid, says Kiwi Rob. The Curry Cup means South African team started URC later, says Starts Race a little bit. Yeah, they had a bit of a reshuffle in terms of a couple of their earlier rounds, and then during the Six Nations, the South African sides did make up those games. The URC usually ends early for the Scarlets. Are we usually on holiday by now, says Fleshin? Yeah, certainly will be no holiday in Ireland. A game up against Leinster, they're going to have to play the best that they have throughout this season. Nicely claimed by Jamie Ritchie, and now rolling maul doesn't really set up for Edinburgh, so they decide to shift it, and they get themselves now the penalty. Right. This is where the decision has to be made. Do Edinburgh also take 3? We've got to remember this is playoff rugby. But I feel like because they've got that man advantage for another minute, they're going to try and make the most of it. And they do call for the corner here, Ross Thompson. Didn't quite get as much distance on it as he would have liked, but they have gone aggressive here. This can either work in their favour or it can work against them. We're just about to find out which one it is. If it works, it's brilliant. If it doesn't, it's a massive miss, as they could have had the 3 points. Bulls will finish over the top of them second half, wear them down late. Now, ready to throw this one in. Ewan Ashman, nicely taken by Jamie Ritchie, and again, the rolling maul will start. It's broken away. Ewan Ashman now trying to find his way through. 10 metres out from the try line here for Edinburgh. Ali Price, short ball. Not sure if that was the choice, as they had about 3 men on the overlap on the right-hand side. Pierre Schurman now picking that ball up and having a bit of a go. Now back across. Oh, nice shift of direction, and a try comes for Ross Thompson, so the gamble has paid off, and Edinburgh get themselves another try. I don't know if many European fans will give up the chance to win a Champions Cup for a year. The French can be stubborn and will have the final say, says Christopher. And I was moving there, the Club World Cup should be 12 teams at first and then build it to 16 after it builds. Yeah, although I guess the point of the Club World Cup is supposed to be to get like a lot of teams in there. And if it's during a period where other teams aren't able to play, I would say that, you know, you want to include as many as you can. Now we have got there, oh my words, he walked that in. Yeah, it just seemed like the gap opened up far too easily. The Reds draw game was weird because it didn't matter who won. Reds was still in the playoffs. Yeah, it was one of those games that, because the Canes won by so much, it kind of took away the importance of that match. Now Ross Thompson, to convert his own try, has got it over. And now making the score a little bit more in Edinburgh's favour, sitting 14 points to 3. That's the last thing that the Bulls wanted. They are now in a tricky predicament, that yellow card costing 2 tries, just like Sinatlas did yesterday, up against the Glasgow Warriors. Who are favourite for this game? The Bulls came in as the heavy favourites. The second highest favourite of the round, with the exception of Leinster, who are supposed to beat the Scarlets quite comfortably, but we never know. And well done, Edinburgh, says Penelope. Now kick downfield from Ali Price. Manages to find the touchline. This is where the Bulls have to regroup. Do yellows get upgraded in this? They do not. A yellow stays a yellow, a red is a red. So in this case, just the 10 minutes for Sebastian de Klerk. He will be fresh now that he's made his way back out on the field, though. See, there are a few nervous Bulls supporters in the stands. I'm an Edinburgh fan, but Bulls are at home, so they could come back. Yeah, exactly right. Still 65 minutes remaining. Plenty of time for both of these sides to get their fair share of tries as well as make their fair share of errors. Keegan Johannes, that was a poor one. And I believe it's come off the forehead of the Bulls, so it has benefited them in some regards. That is a knock-on coming from Edinburgh now. David Creel sitting 40 metres out from the line. Now flat ball again from Papia. Offloaded up to Marcel Kurtzia. Attacking chance now for Villy LaRue, who offloads again. It seems like that seems to be the tactic. I said seems way too many times in that sentence. Inside ball off to Kobus Vesa. And the Bulls trying to keep this ball alive. Tackle made on Harold Foster. Thought about going again, but decides against it. I don't think they could last long. Become a new Gunners, says Isaac. Now, another advantage going against Edinburgh here. That was for Hamish Watson in off his feet. Back across to the right-hand side. Skip pass. Goes into the hands of Devin Williams. Who's he on the field for? I haven't seen Kane and Moody in a little while. I think Moody might be off. And that is a massive hit, though. I didn't even hear them say about that little chip behind from Villy LaRue. Well controlled from Edinburgh. And they will go back for the penalty now. The upgrade system makes sense, but it also annoys me when it's obviously just a yellow, says Kano. And Scotland on fire this weekend, says Nate Dogg. And there as well, one moment, I am about to sneeze again, so I will quickly mute. Right, we are good. And come on the Blues, says Kwandile. Now 17 minutes into the contest. This is where the Bulls have opted to go for the corner yet again. So going aggressive here. They need to score next. They want a great chance in this quarterfinal. We are already almost a quarter of the way through this match. Has been absolutely flying by. The first of 3 matches of the URC quarters that we are covering on the channel. Bulls will play in the last 20 when altitude comes into play, bless you. Says David Jones, thrown in. Oh, referee blows his whistle twice. Okay, if this is a planned move, you have to get the timing right, is the comment there from the referee. So a little bit of a miscommunication for the Bulls there. Is that Moody guy? Springbok, he is indeed, yes, but he is, I believe, injured from this game, or at least I think it's him. I see Creel, I see, or just before we did see Johannes. Puppy is still out there, Foster's out there, so yeah, I think it has to be Moody that's gone off with the early injury. Now, ball getting stuck in there. Referee getting almost grabbed by David Creel. And is this ball stuck in there? No, they have cleared it. The ball's now to the short side. Honeycomb stretches out and gets the first try of the match for the Bulls. I should have stuck with him, shouldn't I? When someone asked who was going to score the first try, I said that Honeycomb's due for one, but then I switched and decided to go with the guy who got a yellow card. And try the Bulls, says Gwandele. And games aren't 20 minutes, says Robert Wood, exactly right. But Edinburgh giving away that penalty. Their discipline has to be on point or else the Bulls will try and make them pay. But short side and Bros Papier got it away to Honeycomb, who just had the power to be able to get over the try line. Bulls fans liking that one a lot more than when the opposition have been scoring. That's it, Honeycomb, says Christopher. And I mentioned about it in the intro too. In the big games, they're the ones that he steps up in. Is Moody playing like I thought he was on the bench? Not going to lie. I think he was supposed to be in the starting lineup and Devin Williams was off the bench. Oh, Keegan Johannes not quite kicking that one as smoothly as he would have liked. He's going to keep the score to 14 points to 8. We have there, happens, bro. At least it's an anytime scorer, says Mr. All-In. The conversion gone over, says Kwandele. And Honeycomb, says Robert Wood in there too. And Melbourne City have won the A-League final 1-0. Bulls attack, just got to tighten defence and they'll be okay, says Studs Ray. Now getting ready to kick this one off. It will be Edinburgh as we pass the quarter-way mark in this fixture. Ross Thompson kicking off high. Darcy Graham chasing after this one. We haven't actually really seen him since that big knock that he took from Seb de Klerk. That was almost the ball there for Richie. Looks like now Mbros Papier will be able to roll this one back. Auckland FC got robbed, says Kano. Yeah, to go the whole season the way that they did, just to be knocked out in the playoffs. That's going to be charged down. Villy LaRue now will be able to kick this one downfield and does find the touchline 30 metres out from his own line. Oh, HIA on 3. Is that Wilco Lowe or is that Darcy Ray? That looks like Darcy Ray is going to be going off now for another head knock assessment. We've seen quite a few of those throughout the early 20 minutes. Honeycomb is a future Springbok flanker, 8, man centre winger, says Christopher DeVette. Right, Darcy Ray saying, I'm fine, but the medics are saying, you're not, you have to come off the field. I think just getting a bit of confirmation there, making sure that they did have the right guy. 2-game semis make no sense to me, says Kano. So it's all done off aggregate. And it's something that's quite popular in the world of football. You see it in, is it the EPL Cup or the FA Cup that has the 2 legs? It's not the EPL Cup, by the way, because that's English Premier League, isn't it? But, yeah, I think it's the FA Cup, maybe, or the Emirates. Oh, yeah, maybe. One of those 2 has the aggregate. Why is there only one final when there's 2 semis, says Kano? So it is based off the home and away legs. So it's supposed to give both teams the opportunity to be able to win their home game, and then you just have to try and win it by more than the opposition do. Away goal rules in rugby sounds horrid, says Studs Rays. Champions Cup, not FA, says David Jones. That one's going to be thrown in, nicely taken. Oh, that was close to offside for the Bulls, trying to rush up there. Oh, sorry, Edinburgh almost offside, and Bros Papia will be rolling this one back. The League Cup as a 2-leg semi-final. Kick downfield. Does go into touch, about 30 metres out again for another line out here in favour of Edinburgh. They've been looking pretty handy when it comes to line out time. Most of them do, even UEFA. Finals are played at neutral venues. Says Katzenell. And can the Scots knock out another South African team? No wonder all the South Africans are going there to play. Says Anthony. It's still very early days in this matchup, I will say. So, like, there still has to be a lot that goes right for Edinburgh, and that line-out was far from right. They have just given the ball straight back into the hands of Johan Robela. Now 35 metres out from the line. Johannes with the skip pass finds Villy LaRue, who does a skip pass of his own out to Devin Williams, putting it back infield. Oh, awkward bouncing one. That ball's taken off. Now Ves Hoosen going across there to Harry Patterson. Goes down the middle of the field, well claimed by the Bulls, and they will look to run this one from the back. Cross that looked forward. Yes, it was. And they will go back for the scrum. We would get good minus IQ compilations. 2-game semis in World Cup or in rugby would be carnage. Says Kano, a little bit of hustle, a little bit of scuffle, I should say, taking place. Push and shove tensions are flaring. I think it's Jamie Ritchie who's holding, they're still holding each other at the moment. Him and I think that's Jan Hendrik Wessels. Right, referee's going to have to take control of this one early on, or else there's going to be some big problems, but he is already calling players over. Oh no, he's saying take your players back, but then he was also waving a couple players over. What is the verdict here? Right. Okay. Wow. So, referee has just said there, it was number 1, Jan Hendrik Wessels and Jamie Ritchie. Jamie Ritchie escalated it. So because of that, it means that Edinburgh are having the penalty against them rather than having the scrum feed. So that is a stern message sent by the referee. If you're going to do anything off the ball, he's going to take possession off you. And by the way, there was only one game on Friday night, Hamish. I did think it might be the case of 2 games Saturday, 1 for the Friday. And not too far behind. And psych up Bocky. Okay, Jan Hendrik Wessels and Jamie Ritchie just sharing a handshake. Ritchie trying to say he didn't do too much, but he did enough. And check for handbags. Says Studs Rays, and now the opportunity for the Bulls to be able to kick this one towards the corner. And this is a massive moment here, because you look at this in the overall scheme of the game. If the Bulls score now, That's another silly penalty that Edinburgh didn't need to give away. This one even more so than their last. Richie overrated my opinion, but just my opinion. So here's Anthony Walsh. But yeah, so Jamie Ritchie did do a little bit of a push and a shove on the ground. Got him in a bit of problem, or a bit of trouble, I should say. Now, Johan Robala, oh, he almost hesitated to throw that one, but gets it off to Ambrose Papia. Now Harold Foster crashing forward, 10 metres out from the line. Jamie Ritchie this time getting over the ball and manages to get the steal for Edinburgh. Ali Price kicking downfield. Does manage to get it into touch. He usually gives away too many penalties. So here's Anthony, and Hurricanes versus Canberra, Blues versus Chiefs Saturday, and Reds versus Satyrs are Friday. So here's Kiwi Rob. But now, head coach of Edinburgh, he'll be a bit nervous after that last penalty that we did see given against the side. We're currently 24 minutes through this match. The 6 points separating them. Now, the reason that I smiled when I said that, right, Moody's about to make his way on in the number 24 jersey. So he might have actually gone off for a jersey change. Wait. So, okay, head injury reversal. I think they just mentioned that he didn't start the game, though. So did he take a head knock before the contest? But yeah, they've got head injury assessment switch. I'm sure he was in the starting side, and I thought he made his way onto the field. But from what they were saying there, maybe he didn't. I don't remember. How are the Bulls losing? I'll tell you what, they're not losing for long, though, if they can get one more big tackle here. But yeah, the 6-point margin is what it has always been when these two sides played throughout this year and last in terms of this URC and Champions Cup competitions. Now, Ali Price ready to kick this one high. It's come off the hand of Ruan Nokia. So it will be an Edinburgh scrum, Edinburgh line-out. Seems like they're just taking that little bit longer to try and get rid of that ball. It's been a bit scrappy in the breakdowns. Yeah, great charge down. Harry Patterson just picking the wrong time to try and go for that kick. Putting the side under all sorts of pressure. In fact, it did not connect with the hand of Ruan Nokia. So it will be the line out for the Bulls. Taken at the front. This time connects with the hands of Nokia. Johannes gone with the short ball. Knock on from the Bulls and Bradbury in a bit of open space. Great low tackle made by Sebastian de Klerk. Pop ball up though from Edinburgh. Ashman slings it off to Vez Hoosen, who kicks it in behind. Looking for the 50-22. That ball's just going to keep on rolling and it's gone dead. How pumped up is that rugby ball? It just kept on going. With Hoosen kicking it from the halfway line, I thought for sure that was going to pull up, but it just kept on tumbling over and over like it was full of helium. And I think he passed his HIA as well, says Kano. It's good to see Quinton Pye get up. Yeah, he looked like he was going to be out for quite some time, but then he was chilling at half time, and in the second half, he was just on the bench looking like he had just taken a bit of a knock. Edinburgh and Scarlets have been solid all season. Can be a tricky day out for the top teams. Looks like Honeycomb just having a few issues with one of his eyes here. That's the altitude damage, says Christopher DeVette. But yeah, just kept on going and going. Even at altitude, it seemed like it was a bit more so than we'd normally see. I think he just got so much top spin on it that it didn't want to stop. For a start, it looked like it was going to be a catchable kick in terms of chasing it down. And then it just kept going. Do you listen to the game audio? I have it in my ears, but it's on like 5% volume. And that's why when like the TMO's making decisions, I end up being very quiet and trying to listen. Just because if I had the commentary too loud, I'd have no idea what I'm saying. Because I'd be too busy listening to what they're saying. So I only really can hear the commentary when I need the TMO and the referee's decisions. But other than that, I can't hear a whole bunch. It also looks like Neymar rolling, says Christopher DeVette. And come on, Bulls, show them what you're made of, says Jason. Yeah, this is for a home final, or home semi, for the Bulls. And it would be up against the winner of Sharks versus Munster. If Edinburgh were to win it, they would more than likely stay in South Africa. Or they could find themselves perhaps even heading to Ireland. And come on the Bulls, show them what you're made of, says Jason. A really nice touching one there on the back of Caden Moody's jersey, the number 24, number 11 as well. Everyone's numbers have got Cornell Hendricks in the numbers. A TMO is very controversial in other sports. Why is it embraced in rugby? Says Cats now. Well, I don't think it's necessarily embraced. I think a lot of people don't like the TMO big push from the Bulls, but Edinburgh managed to get themselves the penalty there. Jan Hendrik Vezel's laughing about it. He feels like that was the wrong call. Okay, they've just said Scrum expert in the commentary box has said he has no idea why that was a Scrum penalty, so not ideal. The Bulls and the Sharks for the wins today, says Brian. That is a very good kick downfield. Too much happening in the rucks. Breakdowns, 2 eyes is too little. TMO's needed, unfortunately, says Anthony. Yeah, I think it was just the front row of the Bulls popping up early. Oh, yeah, no, he is angling in a little bit there. Jan Hendrik Vezels. I think he was trying to get that little bit of an extra shove in, but in the process kind of dislodged himself from the Bulls scrum. And now take a nice set play there for Edinburgh. Bradbury with a short ball off to Lang. Now going across. This has to be a try for Edinburgh. So many options. Thompson spins through and gets himself another. That is his second of the contest. But they had so many guys all ready for that next pass. It could have gone to maybe about 5. And they still would have had a good chance of being able to score it. I don't know what happened to the Bulls' defence, but I think they were all too compact next to that rolling maul. And we just see it there, that attacking run from Lang lured in the defence. And then as they started trying to run out wide, there were just so many gaps. Maybe a bit of obstruction there on Sebastian de Klerk from that wide angle. I've been watching too much NRL. I can't stand scrums anymore. And get in there, fellas. And Bulls in trouble. They need to score now from the restart, says Jack. It's the best said. South African teams can't use the excuse of too much travelling for their failures in this tournament, says Darren. And no way, come on, Edinburgh. See, it's Pedro, and that kick has gone over from Thompson, now making the score 21 points to 8 after 29 minutes. 3 converted tries. These are all crucial. We have seen the 1 miss for Keegan Johannes so far. We are just seeing the replay. I know it was the earlier on one from David Creel. I know that there were a lot of Bulls players running forward. So if any of those guys were in front of the man who scored, then could have been the obstruction, but they must have checked it in the TMO, and Bulls are seeing red. Says Cats are now. That's a good kick from Ross Thompson, flat and towards the sideline. And I love a great scrum like the NRL too, says Studs Rays. Oh, yeah, a little bit of a shot there from Cobus Visa. Just dropping Ross Thompson, saying, hey, listen, mate, you may have scored 2 tries, but we're going to keep on smashing you when we get the chance. Shall we bring Captain's Challenge back? The biggest problem with Captain's Challenge, and we've talked about this quite a few times throughout the channel's existence, the problem with the Captain's Challenge is World Rugby don't like their referees to be seen as wrong, and a Captain's Challenge would prove that multiple times over. So, you know, it's one of those ones that they always say you got to respect the ref's decision whether you feel it's right or wrong, whereas a Captain's Challenge would just give so many chances for games to be a lot longer because there are so many times where the refs do get it slightly wrong. Why is the stadium half empty? Don't they have a big fan base? They do. I'm not actually too sure why there aren't as many people in attendance for this game. I would have thought the quarterfinal would have brought quite a few numbers. Maybe the semi-final is the one that we'll see a lot more people at. The Sky Box will step up, says Mike. Now rolling this one back here for Edinburgh. Ali Price ready to put it high. Maybe just 1 per game. Although, do you get it back if the refs got it wrong? Or are you only allowed to use it that 1 time? If it was 1 time, oh, what a gap that is. For Villy LaRue, has the men with him. Surely has to be a try for David Creel. Yes, it is. And another try for the Bulls. This one's a try fest at Loftus. 5 tries across these 2 sides in the first 30 minutes. Bang, bang, says Jack. But that is a pretty impressive running line from Villy LaRue. Once again, similar to what we said for when Edinburgh just scored about the Bulls defence, where was Edinburgh in that middle section? We see it picked up there, beautiful pop pass up, and then just the ball to Villy LaRue had so much space to be able to work with, and then David Creel, Ali Price just not quite able to catch up with him. One challenge and that's it, says Kano. And Bulls need another one very quickly, says Christopher DeVette. And I'm a Stormers or Sharks supporter, but damn, I'm nervous. To be honest, that Sharks versus Munster game I feel was going to be the closest out of all the contests, although this one's trying to get that nomination at the moment. Dynamite stuff, rolling back the years, LaRue. And they thought it was over. Says Katzenell. And again, the kick is missed though, so that keeps them outside of a 7-point window. And Villy deserves his 100 caps. Hopefully he can get 2 more caps. The way the game has started, Edinburgh have had all the ball in attacks, and if the Bulls can stay close on the scoreboard, second half they should improve, and Edinburgh will feel the effect of altitude, says Jack. Yeah, big celebrations there for the try. Johannes sitting 1 from 3 at the moment, I believe, off the kicking tee, giving up 4 extra points that they could have had, but that does not mean they are out of this game once again. The 8 points difference between these two sides, it is all on in the quarter final. That one's going to be kicked downfield, beautifully taken by Edinburgh now around the halfway line. That was very flat. The ball off to Curry. Tackled by Jan Hendrik Vessels. He's been told to release him, gets in there off his feet. That's got to be a penalty against him, doesn't it? Or at least it should have been a bit of a telling off. He's done about 3 things illegal there. Now, Ali Price rolling this one back. And they're going to go for a box kick from inside of the Bulls half. Got a little bit too much on it. Looking into the sun though. But LaRue, he's dealt with a fair few of those in his career. And he's going to kick it straight back down. Edinburgh caught lacking at the back. Almost a 50-22. Well done from Edinburgh though to stop it from being one. Ali Price kicks it out downfield. But that was almost a massive mistake. Just a little bit too much depth on that initial kick from Ali Price. Who's been a goal kicker, Dan Carter or Johnny Wilkinson? Depends on who you talk to, really, for those two. Did he? Oh, no, he's done well there, Vez Hussein. Taking that ball and thrown it back in at the perfect time. What is the biggest team in South Africa? I'm not actually too sure about in terms of following numbers. I assume that the Sharks have a fair few, but I guess Cape Town Stormers would have to be right up there, wouldn't they? In terms of, like, numbers of people who follow them. Cameron Honeycomb going off the field due to a blood bin there. However, there, boo-boo. Says, call story, bro, and talk to someone from Southern Hemisphere equals Dan Carter, North equals Johnny. Pretty much. Although there's always the exception to the rule, how some from the North would say Dan and some from the South would say Johnny. But now kicking Johannes going off to the right-hand side. Chance here for Kane and Mooney out wide. Far too much space for a man of his caliber. Puts the ball on the inside. That looked kind of forward, but it's going to be dropped by Ambroise Papier anyway. And now another scrum for Edinburgh, but the Bulls have to start capitalising on big line breaks like that. The Bulls are the best team in South Africa, no doubt, says Velda. And the Bulls can easily open Edinburgh up here, it seems quite easily. But the biggest problem that they've had is keeping the ball in hand. They have dropped the ball multiple times. Oldest the Stormers with a passionate following, says David Jones. And Papier FFS, says Christopher in there as well. But yeah, it was a nice backline and then just fumbles it. I like the fact that he tried to argue that it was actually Edinburgh who slapped it back rather than the fact that he did heavily knock that ball on. 1,700 points into combo, says Kano. And the handling errors are not good, and it's what cost the Stormers in their game yesterday. They had far too many of them, even with their opposition giving away penalties. And also the yellow card of Sinatla cost them 2 tries. Edinburgh, they did capitalise on the yellow of Sebastian de Klerk earlier on. Must just be a day for 11s to get themselves yellows. Makazole Mapimpi, I think he's out on the left wing for the Sharks game. We'll have to keep a close eye on him. It's going to be out the back there. Bradbury goes off to the side. Good attack and run. As Honeycomb injured, just a blood bin. I think he's going to be all right to continue in this contest, though, but he does have to get patched up first. Now backline movement here for Edinburgh. Flicking it out the back door. Vez Hussein goes to Darcy Graham. Chip and chase this time isn't taken out by Sebastian de Klerk. Sets up for Villy LaRue. That was almost a clothesline on him. The ref says it was on the chest. And now Billy LaRue passes on the outside to Sebastian de Klerk. Another flat pass. Chip and chase. Brilliant skills from him. Needed the pass on the inside. Foster scores it out wide though. I think it might just be that Billy LaRue pass to de Klerk that they may just have a quick check off to make sure that it was fine. But if it was, Harold Foster has just scored the third try of the match for the Bulls. And a great Scotland versus South Africa game, says Richard. And he's got home advantage, boys. Right, we're seeing it from that angle showed us absolutely nothing because it was the aerial angle from behind. How do we have good there? Ball's going bad, says Goodman. The chip and chase from Sebastian de Klerk. He is a world-class player. Pops it off to Foster, who just sold the dummy enough. We have got that try. Come on, boys. Hamish, I see Creel Honeycomb. And come on the Bulls, more tries because we aren't getting conversions, says Christopher DeVette. Oh. Okay, Keegan Johannes might have had a bit of a a bit of an injury there. And David Creel has now missed the kick. So they are sitting 1 from 4 off the kicking tee today. Yeah, really nicely done by Harold Foster. TVNZ just crashed. There's no one. For me, it is still going, so hopefully it stays that way. Currently just the 2 minutes remaining of this half. Did Johannes go off? Or is he still on? Because if they've lost Keegan Johannes as well, that means that for a second they actually had both of their guys. They've made their way off the field. Right, looks like Foster's still out there, the try scorer, so that is good news as he very nicely out on the wing. 1 from 4 in the quarter. Damn, says Mr. All-In. They say points can win you a game. Currently, the Bulls have missed the opportunity to get 6, which would at the moment actually give them the 3-point lead. Seen double leg amputees kick better. Says Jack, and my handicap is still intact. And also, Villy is a serious playmaker. He's been in form for this matchup. Slapped back by Edinburgh. Awkward bouncing ball. That's played on the ground from Edinburgh, but I think it was a knock-on first from the Bulls. Okay, first knock-on from Blue, then it was played on the ground from Edinburgh, so Edinburgh will have themselves a scrum. Pretty sure Honeycomb can kick too. I'll let him try when he's back on, says Christopher DeVette. Yeah, a bit of a concern. Of course, no Johan Hussen for the Bulls in this contest. And it just seems like they're missing someone who's consistent off that kicking tee. Try confirmed. It was confirmed. We never really saw a replay of that pass, so we'll assume it was all good. Now, 20 seconds remaining in this first half. It's gone really quick, ladies and gents. Is Darcy Graham still on? He is, although he has been very quiet since taking that big shot right at the start of the game. Now, 10 seconds left. Tackles missed 9 from Edinburgh, but they made 46. In terms of the Bulls numbers, they have made 32 tackles, missing 7. Good fight by Edinburgh. Let's hope they can cope with the second half altitude and South African heat. Says Bungies where. Hopefully I said that correctly. And got to give credit to Edinburgh. Yeah, they've shown up for this game and they have been willing to go blow for blow with the South Africans. That's a massive push though at scrum time. Oh, okay, ref telling both sides to retreat there. So there was almost going to be a bit of pushing and shoving after that scrum penalty. And we have got there correct. And the Bulls will win, says Hooligan. If you could live your life again as any rugby player, who would it be? I honestly don't know. It's a tough question because I feel like there are many different things that many different rugby players accomplished, didn't they? So I guess it just depends on what kind of mood you're in. That's a good kick downfield from the Bulls. They will now get the last attacking chance of the half. Seems like a pretty low tackle count. Very set-piece game, suits the Bulls. Says Studs Rays. Yeah, there's been a lot of open space for play, and I think that is also down to the dry conditions, the fact that we are getting to see so much open space available. Now, going off to the right-hand side, Mako Fun starting. Hit hard by Hamish Watson, who tried to get in there for the turnover, but Rua Nokia, his opposite number, does now crash it up for the Bulls. Now, Robala. And Matt Williams says, Nate Doggies, Dan Carter. Says Shane and Try Time Bulls. Says Julian Moses. Now Wilco Lowe gets that little bit closer again, and Bros Papia passes it off to Devin Williams. It's going to be tackled well. It's a big opportunity, though, for the Bulls to strike right at the end of the half all. That's knocked out of the hands of Marcel Coetzee, who's saying he was hit high. Edinburgh have managed to steal this one. Coetzee will stay down, but that ball's gone into touch. And it is now going to be half-time in this matchup. Right, I think they actually just want to clear the shot on Marcel Coetzee, but for now it's half-time. Right, they're clearing the tackle. This scoreboard already says that it's half-time, but I don't necessarily know if it is. Right, 12 orange, the man in question. That is James Lang. And so the Bulls are back in it? Absolutely. Anyone's game in the second half. Edinburgh will be happy that with that half-time score, Bulls come back quite strongly second half. And once again, note that has been cleared, as it was fine. And it is going to be half-time now, though. But, yeah, I think that second half could be very telling for these two teams, because we have seen Edinburgh compete in this first half, but the scrum game is where they could be in quite a bit of trouble. You're a bit behind. I think that's because I'm watching on TVNZ Plus here in New Zealand, and there's normally a little bit of a delay for their coverage. It's all on the second half, says Shane. And who can kick the second half, they need to straighten that up. I honestly like Kean Johannes normally isn't too bad. And then David Krill, he's a bit more about maybe 70% accuracy, although he did miss his very first one of the day. I'm on TVNZ Plus 2, says Kano. And yes, Bulls Hamish altitude, maybe. Although Edinburgh, to be fair, have been one of the sides, well, I was going to say one of the sides in this game, but they are, fun fact. They were probably pushing the tempo a little bit more than some would have anticipated. They seemed like they were up for the challenge of trying to see how hard they could push the gas tank. Who was the player of the half? Player of the half for me probably goes to Ross Thompson. 2 tries scored by the man, and also got all of his kicks over, which can be extremely beneficial in the overall outcome of this contest. Great stuff, Edinburgh. Bulls need to get defence sorted. All their kicking, says Studs Race. And kicks a paw, says Outlaw. Yeah, one of these sides is sitting 3 from 3. The other side is sitting 1 from 4. And that can be the difference. And Bulls to win can't go wrong with a great tight game. Says Mike, exactly right. Like, at the end of the day, that Stormers game that we saw up against Glasgow, it was supposed to be close. And in the end, it just didn't really deliver as such. This one in particular just seems like it's going to go down to the wire. And the fact that the last two times that these two teams have met, it has both times been separated by only 6 points, and means that it should be a pretty exciting one. We have got there. I'm trying to cut down to only subscribe to 3 channels. You're one of them, says Cool Story. That is quite the honour, Cool Story, as there are thousands, if not millions, of channels on YouTube. So the fact that you picked to listen to me talk for like 15 hours a weekend is much appreciated. No excuses for the kicking on the home ground. 6 points lost. Says Lilia B and Edinburgh good for 2 tries, at least in the second half. So in that case, how many tries are you giving to the Bulls? Are you giving them more than the 2 tries? Or are you going with about the same, Sam? So one guy has scored 1/4 of all the points, says Greenway. Pretty much, yeah. He scored total of 16 points from this matchup already. The only points that he didn't score was the other try for Edinburgh, which was scored by Wes Husson. But they are just showing that try out wide for Wes Husson. It came in the time when they were a man down, that being the Bulls, with Sebastian de Klerk getting taken off the field for the yellow card. 3 tries, Bulls second half. Great goal kicker, worth more than Lomu, says Shane. And yeah, we've talked about it a few times about the fact that the Bulls have got Andre Pollard on the way. And looking at these playoff games, you know, if they're in a close fixture and they lose by only a few points, you could argue that Pollard is exactly the player that they need to be able to win them games. Are you doing all the Super Rugby quarterfinals because every game has a Kiwi team in it? Says Kiwi Rob. That's not the reason why we are doing all of them. It's just the fact that it's playoff rugby, so we will be doing all 3. The same with the quarterfinals of the URC. We are doing the Leinster versus Scarlets game, even though there isn't a South African side in it. I know that most people are just doing the South African involved games, but we're going to do all 4 on the channel. We've got to give that Leinster and Scarlet side a bit of the limelight as well for what they have done throughout the season. We appreciate your brother. Go the Bulls, says Nelius. It's not always the coach's fault if the team loses. And why don't Creel kick? He did. He's 0 from 1 at the moment, as he did miss his last kick. And 3 years, no Currie Cup, no URC, no Champions Cup. And Wilco and Husson, the most important key players for the Bulls. Even more so Husson with his kicking. And Villy should go into fly half. And is Bradbury grope ball refs this much? Or just this ref in particular? Very handsy, says Studs Ray. You stuck a good one, says Bungizwe. Yeah, we are going to be covering that Leinster Scarlets and then Sharks versus Munster. So 2 games back to back happening on the channel in the near future. And that will be our 5th live stream at the end of the Sharks versus Munster matchup. It's been a good day of rugby, although we haven't really had too many close games as of yet. Hurricanes had an onslaught up against Moana Pacifica. We did see, a pretty well-controlled game from the Blues up against the Tars. This game, though, it looks like it will be a very good one. And can't wait for the Box versus All Blacks this year. I think we're in for another cracking game, says Mike. Yeah, it does seem like that one is definitely the most talked about game for 2025. They're just showing that Cameron Honeycomb try. An important one, although he had to go off the field for a bit of a blood bin situation not too long after it. Eden Park versus Box, highlight of my year, can't wait. Says Shane, how likely is a back-to-back? Says Katzenell, are we talking back-to-back URC titles? As the Glasgow Warriors would be the side that have to do it. So to do that, they would more than likely have to beat Leinster in Ireland and then find themselves a victory against a side in the final. They're just showing that replay of the Sebastian Clerk yellow card. It was probably a yellow. I feel I need to follow tradition and go to the pub for the Scarlets game and not watch it, says Fleshin. It's worked so far for yourself. URC, says Katzenell. So yeah, back-to-back for the Glasgow Warriors. Be tricky to do, but not impossible. They played some pretty good rugby up against the Stormers. Had their fair share of penalties, though, so that will be the big difference maker. If they get penalised off the park in their semi, they will not be able to beat whoever's in front of them. The Bulls better wake up, says Outlaw. Are they that strong? Says Katzenell. They ranked 4th in the overall standings, so you'd have to argue they haven't had the greatest season that they could have, but they're still thereabouts. And at the end of the day, they won in South Africa in the final up against the Bulls last year, which is something that not many people at all gave them credit in terms of, or even a chance, rather than credit of being able to do. Can't help if players make bad on the field, says Brian. And the Bulls better wake up, says Outlaw. And as well, it's a shame about Moana, but you can't lose by 50-plus points in the 2 most important games, says Kano. And yeah, I still think that with those 2 games aside, their season has been absolutely incredible. Like, to be able to beat 4 of the New Zealand sides, that's something that most of the New Zealand teams haven't even been able to do, but it's just incredible what one player and his mentality and his captaincy, leadership that he's added has been able to bring out of this young Moana Pacifica side. It has done wonders for Pacific Island rugby, and, I do hope that it continues to grow for Moana Pacifica next year. My local is an Irish pub. They don't like rugby, just horse racing and football, says Bleshin. Eden Park, New Zealand versus Box is the biggest game in sport this year, period, says Darren. Just showing there David Creel's score as well. Relatively close to the end of the half. Some very nice moments coming from the Bulls when they did have the ball in hand. I believe in the Bulls, says Dion. We will quickly show you guys who is off the bench for these 2 sides. First of all, for the Bulls, they have got Akafana Merva, Matanzima, as well as Mornay Smith. Now, the scrums have already been pretty one-sided in favour of the Bulls, although Edinburgh did get themselves 1 scrum penalty not too long ago. Kirsten and Van Staden having to make his way on. That was for Cameron Honeycomb. Did end up with a little bit of a cut, but he should be all right, I believe, for the second half of rugby. And then Zach Berger, Stedman Hans, and Devin Williams also showing his face for a little bit of time in that first half due to a Kane and Moody HIA. In terms of this Edinburgh side, they have got Harrison, Fenta, and Sebastian, who had already made his way on, but Darcy Ray's HIA, that rhymes. But yeah, I think that he, from what I could gather, would be back at some point in this match, unless I'm wrong. McConnell and Muncaster as the other 2 forward replacements. And I've got Healy, McAlpine, and also Bennett in the number 23. But this is what is on the line, ladies and gents. The times are not confirmed, but the oppositions are. In fact, this is a much better way of looking at it. Leinster versus Scarlets. The winner of that game will face the winner of Glasgow versus Stormers, which we now know is Glasgow. The winner of this game faces the winner of Sharks versus Munster, which is happening in only around 4 hours' time. And we will also be covering that game on the channel, as well as that Scarlets versus Leinster game in between. And every time I wonder we're behind at halftime, I always said that it wasn't over. Most of the time they would win, says Kano, and surely Artie is AB's captain after the season. You'd think so, but I think they'll still go with Scott Barrett, as we got to remember Razor is the man who's making the decisions, and he does seem to think Scott Barrett is that guy for the role. But yeah, if you look at Savia and what he was able to bring to Moana, like, he could bring that same thing to the ABs in terms of their mentality and whatnot. Although when you get to international level, unfortunately, there is a lot more ego involved. And that makes it tricky because, you know, for Moana, they are a team who were willing to listen, they were willing to learn, and they were making massive progress. Whereas for the ABs, a lot of those guys are already established. They go, well, I'm here because I was good enough, so I don't need that same level of advice. Moana played hard and won against some serious competition this year, just ran out of puff. Says Shane. And we have got their lovely day in Pretoria. Pubs are full and fire's getting started. If the Bulls lose, you always have lamb chops and steaks. Says Truth and Justice. Sounds like a decent feed for later on. Now the question is, what time does the food go in for the bride? Do you wait to find out, let's say the Bulls win, for instance, do you wait to find out who they're playing in the final before you braai, or do you just braai straight away after the game and go, look, we'll eat food, we'll see what happens later? And Bulls don't forget to play for Cornell Hendricks, and a nice touch from the Bulls having his face on their numbers on the back of their shirts for this contest. Yeah, second 40 minutes. This is where we'll have to see both of these sides dig deep. I'd say beefsteaks from the Bulls. Says Wenma and Bry either way. Says Christopher, and I'm still shopping. How's it going there? It's going pretty good at the moment. The weather is absolutely perfect for this game of rugby. The sun will be a bit of a factor, as Edinburgh will be looking into it for the second half. Any Bulls fans know why people not at Loftus, small crowd, says Thuds Race. Sounds like we're only... I think we just heard one of the commentators say what the F, I think is the best way of saying it. I don't think he realised his mic was still on, or at least there was a microphone somewhere that was able to pick him up. I'm not even South African, but a Bry sounds good right about now. Says Anthony. Now the Bulls, they have made their way back out onto the field, getting ready for the second half. Do let me know your end score predictions, ladies and gents. Who is taking out the victory? Edinburgh currently do have themselves the lead, but that can all change in an instant if we see some great play early on from Edinburgh, from the Bulls in the second half. In 3 seasons of the URC, no number one ranked team from the regular season has yet made the grand final. And of those 3 finals, 2 have been won by the visiting team. Well, there you go. So that pretty much tells you, no matter where you're ranked, you've got a chance of winning, which is great, because that means we should have some very entertaining games just around the corner. If the trend, of course, does continue. It's too expensive tickets in the petrol to get there, says Brian. And the Bulls 60 to 30. So you're saying the Bulls just go absolutely berserk in the second half. It's an early game. People are still at work, says Lilia B. And time to the Bulls fix this game. And that is a good point. This game taking place at 2:30 p.m. local time. It's not really a normal kickoff time for a Loftus game. Normally it's a little bit later at around 4 p.m, maybe even that kind of 5-6 mark. And Bulls 38, Edinburgh 35, says Brett. So I guess, from Brent rather than Brett there. So my question as well, ladies and gents, is anyone willing to put the prediction of a 6-point win for one of these sides? Because the last 2 games that they've played, it has been split by 6 both times. So I think I'm going to go a 6-point difference, but I haven't decided who's going to win yet. But the second half, just about to take place. Edinburgh will be kicking this one off from right to left, and we are back underway. We've got a very wide stadium camera angle at the moment. I'm hoping they will change it relatively soon, because it's got the players looking like ants from how far away it is. But currently the Bulls have got themselves the possession. I've never watched rugby at this angle during the game. They're now trying to shift it out wide. Going for the up and under there. Yeah, this is not an easy angle to be able to follow. The Bulls currently around the halfway line. I am squinting because they are about this big, as we're on the stadium cam from right up in the top corner. Currently, it is in the hands of Edinburgh, I want to say. And there is the knock on, so it is going to be a scrum. Has anyone else got the coverage from this far back, or is it just a TVNZ thing that we're dealing with at the moment? But yeah, it is very far away, the angle. Can the Bulls still win, says Mohadin? They can certainly still win. Currently, just the 3 points difference. The match is coming back on, it certainly is. And whoever scores first in the second half will win, is my prediction, says Kano. Is that scores a try or scores just any form of points? It looks like there's a player down. This time it is Marcel Coetzee. He's had his fair share of injuries in recent times too. It's the last thing that you want to be seeing. I've got the same camera angle, says Kano. Yeah, now they have found the right angle, which is great. Because like I said, I've never watched a game of rugby from that far away. Made it very hard to work out who actually had possession. And scores a try, says Kano. Okay, so whoever scores the first try is your prediction to win this contest. Could happen. That's the thing. I think if the first half is anything to go by, the fact that we saw 6 tries being scored throughout that first half, we're probably going to get a few throughout this one too. Looks like Marcel Coetzee. In fact, it's the arm, maybe shoulder, that is giving him a little bit of grief here. It's up to 96 appearances. Helicopter cam, says Christopher DeVette, and Bulls by 12, says Trevor. Just checking out his neck here as well for Marcel Coetzee. So might have got a little bit of a stinger. Honeycomb back on, says Hensel. We will have a look around. Now that we're at an angle that's like relatively close to the field, I will be able to see a bit more of who is on and off. I don't know. We can watch the games from Rugby Pass from Japan. Yeah, they've got all the top league games on Rugby Pass. It's like being in the stands with that camera angle, says Kano. And come on, the Bulls, wait for the comeback. Says Yako in there too. But now, scrum feed here. And I see Nokia. Is Honeycomb... Is that Honeycomb on the back? It looks like him. I just need him to pop his head up. Yeah, it is. So he has managed to get the strapping and everything, and that is going to be another penalty going the way of the Bulls at scrum time. That is where they're going to be able to make their mark. The final is today, says Kiwi Rob. And also we have got there, makes sense as I'm watching this for free. And Richie is the GOAT, says Hensel, and Carter is the best 10 ever. Top 2 player every position. I assume that is. And I have been drunk sat in the top tier of the Principality. That's a long way from the pitch and steep, says Fleshen. With our line-out throw here for the Bulls side. And yes, says Hensel. Yeah, it's going to be tough for Edinburgh because if they can't find some sort of rhythm at scrum time, the Bulls, any time that they need a reprieve, can just force them further down the park. Johan Krobler, though, 22 metres out from the line, nicely claimed at the front for JF Van Heeren. Now rolling maul, it's kind of moved around a little bit. Crunched down was Johan Krobler. Ball is in there. And it is now available for the Bulls. Cameron Honeycomb with the pick and go, loses a couple metres before he's dragged down by Darcy Ray. I need to be studying, but the game's on. Says Hensel. Do you watch rugby without covering it? Sometimes. A lot of the games that we do normally watch, we cover anyway. But like outside of it, I'll watch the occasional other URC fixture from games that we aren't doing, or any chance that we get to watch some highlights of other competitions. Now, Vesa, low tackle, trying to get over it was Jamie Ritchie. Been searching for that turnover all day. Billy LaRue, that is world class from the veteran. Gets it off to Kanan Moody. He held it, he hesitated, then he flicked it underneath the arm of the Edinburgh player. That is the type of step-up performance that Billy LaRue would have wanted to have here, but he is having an absolute field day out there on the field. And what's the score, says Hensel. With that try, the Bulls now take the lead. 23 points to 21 with a kick to come. That is classy from Billy LaRue. Just sets it up perfectly for Moody. And hey, mate, enjoying your streams covering Sharks today, mate? We certainly are, as well as Leinster versus Scarlets, as that one is going to be the one just beforehand. But yeah, we've got both of the other two. that we will be doing on the channel as well. And we have got there was the people that said Villy is gone. He's creating tries everywhere. Yeah, he's been one of the main reasons the Bulls are still in this game. Keegan Johannes, he's got the kick over. And that is going to make the score now 25 points to 21. Is LaRue still international class? I would say so. Like, he gets a huge amount of stick. And I think some of it's definitely unwarranted. Because when he gets it right, he's one of the best on any given day. And, you know, every player has their off day. But Villy LaRue, when he's getting his kicks right, and at the moment he's just playing superbly when it comes to creating chances on attack. The old dog, Villy LaRue, showing the Young Bucks how it's done. Says Johnny Blaze. And yeah, it's got the lead now on the board for the Bulls, sitting with a 4-point lead with still 35 minutes remaining. And what it went over, says Lilia, yep, 2 from 5 now for the Bulls. In this contest, looks like my prediction is the Bulls to win, says Kano. It's a good kick downfield from Villy LaRue as well there. LaRue, fantastic, but won't get back in with Colby there. Have a great substitute or replacement, says Jack. Yeah, I think Rassie will still give him his 100 caps, as he's been a loyal member of that box side for quite some time. And with them being so close, I feel like even if it's just more so as a bit of a off the bench, like you said, or just a bit of a fill-in role, Villy, the general at 10 money, and Sasha take tips, says Eric. And imagine a young LaRue with the composure he has today, he would have been extremely dangerous. That is for sure. But yeah, now he just seems to play with such a calmness about him. Just finds a way of creating tries. Kicked high now from Ali Price. Nicely taken. And now this one's going to be put in behind, well handled by Edinburgh around the halfway line. Vezhusen going for the chip and chase. Villy LaRue once again using that experience. Knew that it wasn't going to be sitting up too nicely for him. Bradbury now running it forward. He's well and truly isolated. Darcy Graham joining in, but it's going to be Marcel Kurtzia who's ended up with the ball. That was just a mismatch in terms of size. Bulls dropping the ball. Johan Hussen, in fact, this time, Johan Robala. Now passed across, bit of a rough one. It's gone backwards. Kanan Moody picks it up. Honeycomb controls it. Gives it off to Krobala. There's no real stoppages happening in the last few phases. Even when teams are making a mistake, it's just play on. Moody almost collides with Wilco Lowe. He'll certainly know if he did. That's a great run from Keegan Johannes. Steps round the defence. Doesn't need the pass on the outside. And he scores the try for the Bulls. They have cut this Edinburgh defence open twice in the first 7 minutes of the second half. And hello, says Florian, welcome in. LaRue will be used against tier 2 teams for the box. With younger players next to him, he is perfect for newer players to find their feet, says Andre. And good, says Yako. But this has been a dream start to the second half here for the Bulls. It was really scrappy, but then the one play structured as can be, and Keegan Johannes just pins the ears back, steps around the cover defence, manages to score the try. Every time they have scored, they have cut them open with ease. I don't get it, strange defence, says Jack, and now it's on, says Lilia B. Let's go, the Bulls. Jake White, a happy man right now, says Johnny Blaze, and Altitude doing the job now. I don't think it is Altitude just at this point. I think that it's been a couple more defensive errors. Like, it's very easy to just say they're playing at Altitude, so that's why it's gone wrong at the start of the second half. But we've got to remember, like, they just came off a 15-minute break. So I don't think that it will be actually Altitude or stamina that is hurting them at the moment. They're just really making huge mistakes in terms of where they are going and trying to cover. They're just picking the wrong guys to try and make the tackles on. How many South Africans have scored against South African teams this weekend so far? Says James, no idea. There'll be a number somewhere. But now, chance here, Ross Thompson, ready to kick this ball off. 32 minutes remaining in this matchup. Come on, Edinburgh, switch on. There's one simple reason. The Bulls are winning this game, and I can tell you why, says Jack. And also, how would you rate URC to Super Rugby, says James. You're asking all the questions that are controversial, aren't you? I like both of them. Like, we cover both of them on the channel. We've covered hundreds of games of both competitions, or maybe not hundreds of the URC just because it's only a new competition, but getting close, I would say, to the 100 mark. And I have no problem with either of them. I don't understand why people say that you have to have a favourite. And, you know, it's kind of like apples and oranges in terms of there are differences in the comps, but that's what makes them special. That's what makes rugby so broad, is the fact that not every competition you watch is going to be identical. It's actually going to have a bit of something different. Will Ioane make the ABs? Well, he scored a hat-trick, so a lot of people now saying that he will, but hard to say. Scott Robertson will be the man that knows. That's going to be knocked on by Edinburgh. Now they have got a few early handling errors against them. Now, Ambroise Papier trying to kick this one in behind, looking for the 50-22, and he's got it. This has been the big old moments early on in the half that have pretty much completely shifted this game. But obviously, the Bulls were told to sort their stuff out at halftime. It would have been a much stricter word than I used. But they would have pretty much been told, listen, if you're going to try and win this game, actually look like you're trying. And they have come out absolutely guns blazing in the second half. Good night, the streams have been awesome. Hopefully you reach 69k subs soon. Says Kano. URC should have 20 teams. Rename it the United Championship. Why not URC just with 20 teams? Why do they have to remove the rugby? Now, Kano Moody sitting there, 15 metres out from the try line, and Ambroise Papier with a little bit of a slip knock here with a skip pass, little flick pass out the back door, but it's forward from Jan-Hendrik Wessels. Okay, team still playing on a little bit. Jake had a killer talk halftime. I'd say so, or something's happened at halftime anyway, whether it was Jake or whether it was one of the leaders of the side. I would say that Billy LaRue, if he was given the opportunity to have a bit of a yell at the side, he would well and truly do it, as he does it on a weekly basis on the field anyway. But yeah, something's happened, and they've found their next gear. Moody, a better winger or centre. I think that it depends on the team that he's playing for. Sometimes when he's out on the wing, we hardly see him. He works quite well with certain combos in the midfield, but I do think that his high ball ability puts him much better out on the wing because he is able to get up and really contest for them. We have got their balls all day long. Thanks for all the effort. From Plettenberg, Base South Africa, says Daryl. We do appreciate you being here. Anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are going to be back for the next 2 games of the URC, including that game taking place between the Sharks and Munster, also Leinster. They are going head-to-head. Oh, Moody's going back off with, I believe, another HIA. He's already passed one today, but I would think if you go off for a second, you're probably not allowed to continue. Now, thrown in by Akafunda Merva. So that's also a change that they decided to make. Take Johan Robela off the field, pick and go there from the Bulls. All Edinburgh lying all over that one, probably lucky not to have the penalty advantage against them, but the Bulls looking for their 3rd try in quick succession. Short ball, and they get another one. 3 in a row for the Bulls. And thank you for giving us live commentary. Says Quandile there, and go the Bulls, you got it, team. And let's go Bulls, let's go. Tell you what, they have come out absolutely firing in the second half. As the Sharks' young centre playing, I don't know his name. He was popular schoolboys. Lorenzo Julius is the one you're thinking of. I think he's in their lineup for this matchup. But just the pick and go from Wilco Lowe. And then the quick thinking from Ruan Nokia. There goes my prediction, says Brent. I think a lot of people's predictions are now gone in terms of what we have seen from this Bulls side early on. Sharks' prediction, Munster are a tough side. But, you know, it's one of those ones that I do think that the Sharks, if they play well, should win. But it's whether or not they do play well. If this was a boxing match, the white towel would be thrown in. I don't think I'd guarantee that. I think that no side in rugby would say that they're out of it until the full-time siren. Even if they're losing badly, I guess if you're comparing it to boxing, I feel like these sides would just prefer to get continuously hit and make it to the final whistle rather than pulling out early. I feel like mentality of these players is to just go till you can't go no more, and that might happen later on in this game as Edinburgh, they have found themselves up against it. They still don't look like they're slowing down per se. It just looks like they haven't had anything really going their way throughout the first 12 minutes, but now they've got the attacking chance. Darcy Graham for his first touch in about 50 minutes. Now Sebastian tries the offload, Gave it off to the big man, Sam Skinner, but he has now dropped it. And yeah, you can see the frustration for Edinburgh, the fact that every time they try and get something moving, they then drop the ball now. Excellent from the Bulls, almost 1 a.m. What time is Leinster versus Scarlets? So New Zealand time, that will be kicking off at 2 a.m. New Zealand time. And then the Sharks Munster game's kicking off at 4:30 a.m. The Sharks have been so frustrating this season. Sometimes I scream for them, and then sometimes I scream at them. Says Garnett. Sounds about right. Yeah, they're one of those teams that when they're playing well, it's great to watch. When they're not playing well, without being a Shark supporter, you can just tell that it's so frustrating to watch. A little bit similar to what we saw for the Stormers in their game up against Glasgow. Like, we know that they could have played a lot better, but they just didn't. Crowd attendance just over the 20,000 mark for this game, so a decent-sized quarter-final crowd. Bulls ahead, says Ruth. What game's next week? Well, we don't actually know the answer to that in terms of the semi-finals. Of course, there will be 2 of them. And then in Super Rugby, there will be 3 matches taking place, which are Chiefs versus Blues, Reds versus Crusaders, and Brumbies versus Hurricanes. And since the last few years, final and cooking again. This is very devastating for Edinburgh. And well, he deserves respect. Exactly right. He's been absolutely outstanding in this matchup. Plumtree and Dobson both need to be replaced as head coaches. Both teams have underperformed, says James. So who are your replacement coaches then? Because it's all well and good sacking the coach, but then you got to find someone to replace them, or else the new coach, normally people want to sack them within the first few games. Now, Ambroise Papier, ready to feed this ball in. And that is once again a massive push. It's scrum time, but that is going to be going back for a reset here. But Bulls have been all over them. They've got a 70 or so, or I think it was 55 kg advantage when it comes to scrums. They're using every single kg of that here. What happened since half time? Bulls obviously got to kick up the backside. Someone, whether it was Villy or whether it was the captain or whether it was the coach, said, hey, we're going home here if you don't sort your stuff out. And they've come out and they've gone, okay, we're going to play some rugby now. And Bulls is going full on now. Says Hensel. And AFL versus rugby, which sports is the best? You did ask that yesterday, but you never gave me an answer to my next follow-up, which was, are we talking about just like the sport in general? Are you talking about like the video games for the 2 games or 2 sports? Because they have both recently hit the shelves. Ambroise Papier told to hurry up and put that ball in Edinburgh. Massive push. And they get the penalty. Ambroise Papier has to be very careful here because he's going straight over to the ref yelling in his face. And that's the type of thing that gets you march back 10. Okay. I think they were saying that Ambroise Papier's hands were actually in the wrong place there at a scrum. And Bulls to win. The Scots to fight till the end. And Bulls will win, but will get close by the end, says Hensel there. And ball is going to be kicked into touch now, though. Okay, they're saying the Ambroise Papier. I'm not actually sure what happened there, but Akafunda Merva at scrum time kind of had his arms lifted up rather than being properly set in the scrum. So I don't know whether or not that was like a push that caused it or what the go was, but they have been penalised for it. And Edinburgh now with the line out about 12 metres out from the try line. Now, rolling maul chance. Trying to get this one moving. Ewan Ashman, he loves breaking off the back. He's got the pace to be able to do it effectively too. Been told to use it once. Here he goes. Ewan Ashman runs straight at Keegan Johannes. 10 metres out, and that's going to be an advantage now. Going against Ambroise Papier for not rolling away. 10 metres out from the line. Looks like they will shift this one to the left-hand side. Bradbury tries to break that defensive line. New advantage coming. The last time that the Bulls gave away a yellow card, there were 2 tries. And the last thing that they want here is to end up with another one. Bulls never stop fighting. They lost the hit and disconnected. And pathetic ref of scrum. No stability at all, says Eric. And South Africa really miss an international type scrum half. Says James, right, tap and go. Happening for Edinburgh. Now, Ali Price, no advantage going against the Bulls. This is where the discipline is starting to slip that little bit more now. Price looking to the right-hand side and will shift it away to Ewan Ashman. Now, inside ball off to Darcy Graham. He's not a big enough individual to be running that line. He's been absolutely crunched. Now, Fenter gets within a couple of metres. Ali Price, what way does he shift? It goes out wide. It's going to be dropped, but they will go back. Double blow of the whistle here. Is this the last warning, or is this going to be a card for one of the Bulls players? We're about to find out. We've got 23 not rolling away. Okay, so it's a warning. Someone got penalised twice for being offside, but the ref said next time he does it, he may leave the field. And Bulls need to be in the final for epicness and promotion of the URC, says Cool Story. And Darcy Graham has got big basketballs, says Thuds Rays. And someone's down. That looks like Ewan Ashman with a bit of an injury here. Edinburgh try, not quite. They were just short of the line, but they're on the verge of being able to score and possibly end up with a yellow card against the Bulls in the process. Half my community is going to the Sharks game, says Trevor. And it's going to be an epic one when they go head-to-head with Munster, Ebenetzebeth versus Peter O'Mahony, or you could say Ebenetzebeth versus Tyke Byrne, Sia Khaleesi versus Peter O'Mahony. There are some brilliant head-to-heads taking place in that game. And come on, Bulls D up. Says Mr. Allin. Bulls 46, Edinburgh 29. It's the prediction there from Yarko. Currently, they find themselves down by the 18 points here, Edinburgh. But like I said, a yellow card can change everything in a game of rugby. Mindless rugby for the Bulls. 18 points up. Game management has been poor all season. Says James. Now pick and go short side for Edinburgh. Just 1 or 2 metres out from the try line. Who's it going to be that decides to have the crack? I think Watson may have tried to pick it up. Sebastian goes across there. No advantage for the Bulls. They might go to the bin here if they're not careful. In fact, it might even be better to concede the try so that they don't get someone sent off. Ali Price looking back across to the right-hand side here. Big run going for from Bohan Fenter. Right again, Ewan Ashman slides over and does get the try. The crowd have gone a little bit silent again. Still a big lead here for the Bulls, but their first try conceded in the second half. It took 18 minutes, but Edinburgh finally get themselves on the board again. And once again, I think that this is exactly where Edinburgh need to try and play the rest of this game, because if they can get the Bulls down to 14, they more than likely can get right back into this contest. I hear the game well because of the colder. Oh. There's going to be a yellow card anyway. Okay, this is a big call, ladies and gents. Good ref won't stop at nothing for that try. Now we'll reset and go with 15, but this is now going to be the yellow card for JF Van Heeren. That man is laughing about it, but he won't be laughing if his side convert or have 2 quick-fire tries against them. Yeah, I think that smile's been wiped straight off his face. I don't know whether or not one of his teammates said something to him or whether maybe he's seen the coaches' faces on the sideline, but repeated infringements from the Bulls. Even though the try was scored, they still went back for it and gave him the yellow card. I think he gave away 3 penalties for offside in a row though, so that's probably understandable rather than just the random players accumulating it. It was all against him. Wait, they scored and he gave the yellow card? He did. Yep, for the 3rd infringement from JF Van Heeren in quick succession. And come on, the Bulls. Oh, drop ball. Looking straight into the sun. Couldn't see it for Ross Thompson. And now they've got themselves the penalty advantage here to the Bulls, and they will be looking to strike early after having a man disadvantage. Jan Hendrik Wessels goes off the puppy here. It's gone in behind. Philly LaRue. Short ball to Keegan Johannes. This is sounding like it's going to be an Edinburgh yellow card now for a deliberate knockdown. And they're saying, right. Ref saying it's just a knock on. Commentator in the box is saying he would like that upgraded. It's a yellow card. Edinburgh down to 14 now too. So they had their advantage for a whole 60 seconds before they decided to throw it away. And it's going to be Ross Thompson, a man who's already got the double, will now be making his way off. Looks like the Bulls are going to go for the 3 points. Our ref really helping the Scots, eh? Says Hensel. See, normally I would agree, but the fact that it was the same player 3 times in a row does change my opinion on it. Like, even though they scored, normally it would be let go if it was multiple different guys, but if the same guy is infringing every single breakdown, like, you got to kind of send him off, even if there's the try, just because or else he's just going to keep on doing it and eventually get himself the yellow card anyway. But the yellow card going back the way of Edinburgh 2, 14 on 14, the extra 3 points. That now gives us a 14 points difference between these two sides. No, don't go for the 3, go for the try. Or who will take the kickoff now for Edinburgh? That's a great question. Probably Ali Price, I would think, but Ross Thompson looks very sad getting sent off the field there, as it could be a game-changing type of moment. Now, 18 minutes left. I think at the moment, Villy LaRue has to be man of the match, doesn't he? Has Moody returned from the HIA? Not that I've seen. Wow. Okay, they've gone Honeycomb, then Johannes, and then LaRue. Unless they're saying that they're all... Actually, no, I think that's just everyone's on about the same amount, because Villy LaRue has to have man of the match here, doesn't he? I don't think you can give it to Johannes, who's missed multiple kicks in this match, even though he's had a couple good runs. But Villy LaRue now going to be kicking this one downfield, looking for the 50-22, well taken over the head from Darcy Graham. Tried the step, manages to get round one, passes on the outside. They've offloaded back in that. Look forward, a massive amount of space. Drawing pass here for Edinburgh, trying to link up. Bennett having to almost retreat there in his run. Now, if that was a forward pass, they can go right back for it in the TMO decision, and they might have to. Bradbury, close to the sideline, puts it back on the inside to Johan Husson, who scores. But I think that looked pretty forward to me. They might have to retreat about 50 metres to do this one. The crowd are not happy about it. Vez Husson, though, does score it, his second of the match. We're going to see the replay now from the wide angle. It was definitely flat, but I think they're saying it's all right. You're not getting excited yet, says Studs Rays. But yeah, very nice build-up, other than, of course, that debatable pass. I was just listening to the referee there. That was about something else other than the chance of a forward pass. All cleared, says the ref, and that try will stand, ladies and gentlemen. Altitude about to kick in, relax, says Shane. Oh, not in touch. Oh! Were they checking for him to be in touch rather than a pass? If that's the case, then I guess they're correct that he wasn't in touch, but what was the pass like? There's about 2 half tries, or second half tries I spoke about. That one has missed away to the side. So Ross Thompson, 100% kicking accuracy, but unfortunately for him, he's not on the field anymore. Seeing there for Bradbury, just gets that ball back on the inside to Johan Husson, who slammed it down. The Bulls are not winning any trophy with this defensive display, says James. Now 15 minutes remaining. URC referees are bad, says Hensel. You could swap with Super Rugby if you like, because every live stream that I do of a Super Rugby match, all I hear is about how the referees should be from somewhere else. So maybe we just swap all URC and Super Rugby refs over, and then people will find something else to be able to complain about. Well, they'll probably complain about the new refs, to be fair, but would you like to see the likes of Nick Berry refereeing the URC, James Dolman, Ben O'Keefe, Damon Murphy, Angus Gardner, those type of blokes? And what could a try do for Edinburgh? A try could get them right back into this contest, which currently still has 15 minutes remaining. They might hear you and look at the pass, says Bangizve. And we have got the referee is horrible. And the Bulls are not winning any trophies. Brumbies vs Crusaders ref was 100 in my opinion. And the guy was in touch. I didn't think he was in touch. I thought it was a forward pass, if I'm being honest. I think that Bradbury was able to actually free that ball up in time on this near side, if that's the one you were talking about. But I did think that the far side, near halfway, Darcy Graham did do the forward pass, or receive the forward pass. I can't remember what way around it was. But now, to be nicely taken here by the Bulls. They have got themselves the opportunity on the halfway line. South African or Super Rugby refs are fine, except Berry. I watch most Super Rugby games still, and refs way better than URC refs. Says Enzo. Oh, ball into the hands of Darcy Graham. That is an offload and a half. As the man was spinning, still managed to time it so that he got it to his teammate. Edinburgh are far from out of this game, ladies and gentlemen. It seems like they're almost finding their next gear. Martin Zima making the tackle there. Now Ali Price kicking it downfield this time. Has gone into the shade, taken by Willie LaRue. Has been world class throughout this contest. Zach Berger back across now to Cameron Hanekom. Quite a few changes being made by both of these sides in the recent few moments. Willie LaRue trying to chip him behind. Moody kicks it forward. He's winning the foot race. The ball sits up for him, but it misses him. And it goes now knock on. Oh! 2 knock-ons. The first one from the Bulls. I was about to say Stedman Hans was through there to be able to score, but the first knock-on came from Kanan Moody. So that shut down the attack. 4 parts, the ref should have checked that. He didn't even bother checking it. Although he did say it's all been cleared, so I assume the TMO actually checked that one rather than the referee doing a formal review of it. Why do Bulls kick away position? I mean, that time it almost worked. They almost got that little chip in behind. And Kanan Moody just needed a bounce of the ball, but yeah, it did hit his hand and then bounced away. And I know, says Outlaw. If you make duplicates of a ref, which ref would you duplicate for all rugby matches? The thing is, though, like, it's all well and good thinking that there's one ref who would do better, because, like, you know, a lot of people look at Nigel Owens as one of the greats, but there's still a lot of people who didn't like his refereeing. So I think it's just, you know, you can't please everyone. If everyone's opinions built a ref, I actually think that referee would be absolutely terrible, because different interpretations of the law from viewers of rugby would mean that the refs are all over the place. And it's all down to interpretation. It's the same for the referees with the amount of laws that they have to try and follow for a game of rugby with so much happening in quick succession. It's almost impossible to get everything right. No matter how much we'd love to think that it is possible. But Bradbury offloading it now. Big foot race coming here, but Cameron Hanekom getting right in the breakdown. Trying to force the steal going short side. A little bit of a stoppage almost there. Both sides just looking up at the ref to see whether or not they are allowed to keep on going. Now, Ewan Ashman, he was taken off the field for Patrick Harrison due to a bit of an injury. And Bulls focus says Ben. Now rolling this ball back again for Ali Price. Down towards the halfway line. Kanan Moody good under the high ball, but he's knocked that one on. My voice went very high and then disappeared for half a second there. I think Moody might be struggling to be able to see out one of his eyes. It's pretty much closed like this from the head strapping that he's got. And Storms was terrible last night. I hope Bulls can pull this one off, says Samuel. But yeah, Moody did all the hard work of getting up for it, and then just somehow the ball just dislodges forward. Hanekom been underwhelming today, says James. Had to bob out for 20 to 30 minutes, and it looked like Edinburgh have scuppered it. Yeah, see, they really didn't start the second half well, but they're right back in the game now. 10 minutes remaining. Both sides have a yellow card on the board, so there's plenty that can happen in that aspect. It doesn't matter who is playing, it's always be the ref's fault. Yeah, exactly right. Like, I feel like the refs are the most thankless job in terms of sport, because, you know, coaches are the same. The coach gets the blame if players drop the ball. They say, oh, the coach must have told him that he was running that line and he wasn't ready for it, or all that stuff. But, you know, like, you look at a side that dropped the ball 15 times, the coach can't do much about that. He just has to sit back and think, damn, I should have picked someone else who can actually catch a ball. And Edinburgh try really throws the cat amongst the pigeons now. It would, yeah. It would make us back within the 7-point margin. If they manage to convert it, it would be back within a penalty. And now scrum here for Edinburgh as they put the ball in. Bradbury picks it up, running off the back. He's had a lot more metres in just the last maybe 10 or so minutes. If anything, Edinburgh seem like they are speeding up, and the penalty goes their way. Oh, Referee falls over one of the players. I think he gets Hamish Watson, ends up standing on him. Right. The call is offside against the Bulls again here. Ali Price looking for the touchline. It's only just gone out. The ref fell over, says Connor, that is true. Have you ever thrown a cat amongst the pigeons? I have not. Not personally, no. Would it be the same as throwing a pigeon amongst some cats? I feel like that would be a bit of an interesting sight. Probably a terrible one for the pigeon, I would think. Now, line out throw here for Patrick Harrison. They've been pretty decent today for Ewan Ashman in terms of that line out accuracy. Has to continue now here. We'll throw it in and nicely taken at the front now for Edinburgh. Uncontested by the Bulls, who wanted to commit to trying to stop this rolling ball from marching forward. Ball has gone backwards and stripped by Marco van Staden. That is a massive steal there for the Bulls at an opportune time. Across Martin Zima. Good hands from him. The last thing anyone wants is a drop ball. Oh, that was a big shot on Willie Leroux as he looks to kick it downfield. Johan Hussen now from the back. Or sorry, I should say Vess. Now, big shot on him. Breaks him over backwards. Ali Price, pop pass, bit of a miscommunication there from Edinburgh. Well picked up by Bennett, who has to now find a gap, and he does just that. Sebastian de Klerk makes the tackle, but Edinburgh cutting through again. Ball's still there, 40 metres out from the line. What can they do? Going for a cross kick. That's a really bad one. And it's picked up by the Bulls. That was all but a breakaway. Akafunda Merva kicks it straight at a touch. But that was almost a crucial mistake there. Like I said, absolute madness out there on the field at the moment. Crowd on the edge of their seats. I blame ref for my family. Right. I keep pushing Edinburgh. And also, the Bulls is not fit enough, says Outlaw. And all the talk was that it was altitude that would hurt Edinburgh. But if anything, it seems like the Bulls are the side that are taking the deeper breaths just at this very point in time. And called it, says Death. And what time is the next game? Next game is kicking off in 48 minutes' time. And we are going to be covering it on the channel as well. So anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. After that, we are going to be doing the game between the Sharks and Munster. And that is kicking off in about 3 hours, 15 minutes' time. We see it there. The pop bars up from David Creel to Akafuna Merva, who just ended up putting it pretty much straight into touch, unfortunately, for his side. And Hamish, thanks again for your super commentary. Always exciting. And come on, Edinburgh, says Rugby, and get a try, Edinburgh. I want to see something. Yeah, see, one try for Edinburgh here completely turns this game on its head. Now, I don't think it's very likely at all, but in the case of a draw, ladies and gents, I believe we would be going to extra time. That would be an extra 20 minutes of play, but I don't think we're going to get that far. Someone should be able to secure a victory by then. Honestly, you can't leave South Africa's fate to the Sharks. So there's a cool story there. Like they have said, massive performance there from Bradbury. Just hasn't been willing to take a backward step. Physical as he can be. Now, looks like there is going to be a short line out here for Edinburgh. Again, a loose ball. They've had a few too many of that. Or too many of those, I should say. Man of the match, the ref says Outlaw. I would probably end up rather giving the man of the match to Willie Leroux. I think he's been outstanding in this matchup, has really covered the ground well, has set up about 2 or 3 tries, and has been in full-on beast mode throughout this match. But now, going to be kicked high, nicely taken by Kane and Moody. A bit of a counter-ruck there from Edinburgh, and they get the penalty for no release on the ground. And come on, the Bulls says Ben Edinburgh's just not strong enough. Those scrums are Bulls territory, and yeah, any more scrums near the end of this game, and I think that Bulls will score, or sorry, maybe not score, but they'll at least get the penalty and work their way down the field. If the Edinburgh side can avoid scrums, that's where they've still got a bit of a shot here. How much time is left? Still 6 minutes remaining on the clock. I got a feeling Sharks will surprise us today. Don't trust them in the semis. I say that as a Sharks supporter, says Mike. Edinburgh are taking the 3. No, they are kicking for the corner again. They're trying to get within that margin of less than 7. Khaleesi, are you ready for the Sharks game? A penalty try, Edinburgh will win, says Tiger, although penalty try would only get them up into the 40-point margin. They would still be down, and Ben Healy is on for Edinburgh. He certainly is. Could be a bit of an impact player. But they will be about 15 metres out from the line now for this Edinburgh side. Line out throw for Patrick Harrison, uncontested again here from the Bulls. So they are backing themselves to be able to defend this rolling maul. They're being told to use it once. It looks set, but it's not really moving as of yet. Akafunda Merva went straight through the middle, ties it up with one arm. That is incredible from the replacement hooker. He had absolutely no one else with him. Just hooked the arm over it, said that's not going anywhere. And that is a massive individual play. When did the yellow card players return? They have both returned already. And Edinburgh, you do this to us every week. And come on, Edinburgh says rugby. But that is the massive moment. That ball needed to get out a little bit earlier. And yeah, just gets one arm on it and says, no, that ball's mine. Akafunda Merva, another young gun, says Ruth. Currently now sitting with 5.5, or in fact 4.5 minutes remaining here. Still time for a few late tails of this tape, although one more try for the Bulls would secure them the win. Even one more penalty, I would say, would be enough, just in terms of the amount of time that it would use up. Willie proves he can't please everyone. People still criticise him after 2 World Cups and a legacy of over a decade. Says, cool story. And we have got their penalty, then a try, says Tiger. Is Darcy on? Darcy is, but ever since that big early hit on Darcy ain't been as busy as he normally would be. Now, another one. And we have got their Fundamurva turns up every game. Just to have zero hype. Says Studs Race. Been told to use it. Back across now, still inside of their own 22 here, the Bulls. Back into the pocket. Oh, Keegan Johannes slipping over. But luckily for him, he's actually found a bit of open space down the middle of the field. But in a counter-attacking chance here for Edinburgh. Darcy Graham with the ball smashed in the challenge. And it's popped out the back door. Edinburgh may be susceptible to the counter-ruck. And the Bulls have got their hands on the ball and they win the penalty there. I think Ali Price just tried to throw that ball away in a bit of a tantrum. But now the Bulls have the chance to either extend their lead from 55 out or they can kick this one towards the sideline. But there's 3 minutes remaining. Even if they just say that they want to take the 3 points, they can use up an extra minute on the clock. But I think with that last slip from Johannes, they will probably go sideline, and that is exactly what they're going to do here. And Game Ball says Hans and Jake was fighting for his life at halftime. Says Outlaw, yeah, whatever he said at halftime obviously really fired them up. The Bulls have been susceptible to conceding late tries. This game, it was more so that middle patch that seemed to hurt them. Hard to believe he's Duan's older brother, says Christopher. Well done the Bulls, you've got this, says Francois there. Yeah, they are now firmly in control with only 2.5 minutes remaining. One more try could be on the cards here. 6 tries from the Bulls, 5 tries from Edinburgh. It's been a high-scoring quarterfinal. Question is, what will the semis look like in terms of who will be facing this Bulls side? Is it going to be the Sharks or is it going to be Munster? Now, Duan Fundamurva, I should say Akafunda Merva for the corner. He's been pushed out, though. Oh, little bit of afters. He's holding Darcy Graham down. It looks like it's going to be play on here. Edinburgh have decided to keep on going as they do need to score in the very near future. They're going to try and use their backline and go for a bit of a counter-attack while the Bulls weren't paying attention. Cameron Honeycomb, he was, though. Ball there again. Oh, a beautiful offload up. Only 1 metre out from the line. The Bulls are all over that breakdown and they win another penalty. It looks like they want to take the quick dab. Zach Berger thought about it, but I think he's been told, hang on, mate. If we just close this one out without going anything too crazy, we can win this match. They've said trying to play high-stakes rugby there for the Bulls, so they will kick this one for the corner yet again. And Aleka Bull says Mariska there. Hi, Craig from South Africa. I'm late but love your commentary. Thank you very much, Craig, for being here. We are going to be back for the Sharks versus Munster game that has taken place in 3 hours, 10 minutes time, as well as the match taking place in 35 minutes time. That is Leinster versus Scarlets. We'll be doing that game on the channel as well. And the Bulls are number 1, says Andrew White. Now thrown in, nicely taken by the Bulls. That one sacked by Edinburgh, but now with the amount of time remaining, only the 40 seconds, there is no way for the Bulls to lose this game. Even though Edinburgh have just won themselves the penalty, Marco van Staden walking away with the ball, as he did not want the quick tap to be taken. Ellie Price decides to go for it. They're going to have to run the 100 metres in about maybe 17 seconds. Should be doable, although another penalty going against the Bulls, and now they're just going for those cynical plays. They've decided they might as well if they can slow it down enough to stop Edinburgh. Another offload out wide. 5 seconds left on the clock. There won't be enough time, and the Bulls will advance to the semi-finals of the URC to try and right those wrongs from the last comp and see if they can get the victory this year. Darcy Graham still kicking that one forward. It is in the hands of the Bulls off the side of the boot from Sebastian de Klerk. It just goes into touch. And that is the end of the contest. 42 points to 33. A high-scoring contest, like I mentioned. 11 tries in total across these two sides. But a split of 9 points. I think that we can still get closer in that Sharks versus Munster game in terms of separation between the sides. That one taking place in 3 hours, like I mentioned. The other game that we are doing is taking place in 40 minutes time. That is Scarlets versus Leinster. We are going to be covering both of them on the channel as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Man of the match has gone to Villy LaRue, which is absolutely thoroughly deserved after the way that he was able to play out there. He was one of the big reasons that the Bulls got the win. And it was only a few weeks ago that man was getting criticised for deciding to go for the kick into touch up against Glasgow rather than going for the 3. But it's all worked out in their favour. They've made it to the semis. Now we get to wait to see who they face off. Either the Sharks or Munster. It will be confirmed in a few hours. We will be back for that one, as well as Leinster versus Scarlets. But I do thank you all very much for being here. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.